So, shall I start the session?
Yes.
Good evening, everyone. It is a privilege to welcome you all to the South Asian Artificial Intelligence Conclave 2026. This conclave together brings an exceptional mix of minds from across the world, researchers, disciplines, and students, creating a space where ideas do not just stay within disciplines but interact, challenge, and evolve. And what makes this platform significant is not just its scale, but its intent to examine artificial intelligence not in isolation, but in connection with law, governance, ethics, and society. This session is a continuation of that vision. It is not about repeating what we already know, but about questioning what we assume and refining what we understand, and most importantly, exploring what lies ahead. And before we begin, I would like to acknowledge the institution behind this initiative, the Center for Development of Intellectual Property and Research, operating under the Naovina Development of Intellectual Property and Research Foundation. Their work in advancing intellectual property discourse and fostering research driven dialogue plays a very crucial role in shaping conversations like the one we are about to have today. This conclave is being organized in collaboration with Google for Education and the Data and Society Research Institution, powered by the Community for Academic Research and Development Foundation. Their collective contribution reflects the interdisciplinary and global character of this platform. It is also my honor to introduce our panel judge for this session, Mr. D.S. Mandal, Executive Member at CDIPR. With his strong engagement in law, technology, and digital governance, and his work in areas such as AI regulation, public policy, and constitutional values, he brings a thoughtful and balanced perspective to this session. His presence ensures that the presentations that we're gonna have today are not only insightful but also critically evaluated. And as we move forward, I encourage everyone listen carefully and think independently. Each presentation here is not just an academic exercise, but a contribution to a much larger conversation on how AI will shape our future. And now, moving on to the presentation guidelines, all presenters are requested to note that each presentation will be for a total 6 minutes. In that, with 5 minutes allotted for the presentation and 1 minute reserved for the questions and answers. Kindly keep an eye on the comment box during your presentation to stay within the time limit. Also, please ensure that your microphones and cameras are functioning properly, and make sure to upload your PPT in the backend before your presentation to avoid any delays. With that, let us begin the technical session 3. So, shall I call the first participant now?
Yes, call the first participant.
Uh, Shrutika Sharma.
Excuse me.
Shrutika Sharma, you can start with your presentation. All the best.
Excuse me, am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Yes, you are audible.
Uh, Ma'am, I have been trying to ask that my co-author is not able to join this meeting from the last 3 minutes. Can you please check Diksha Pradhan?
Yes, sure. Thank you. One second.
Yeah, your co-author has
Okay, she is
joined.
in. Okay, thank you.
Okay, now
Uh,
you can present. Start with your presentation. All the best.
Thank you. Good afternoon, panelists. Today, myself Shrutika Sharma and my co-author Diksha Pradhan, students of NLU Jodhpur, will be presenting our paper on the title "The Child Consumer in the Age of AI: A Doctrinal Analysis of Legal Protections for Gen Alpha." To start our paper, I'll need to focus that our focus of the paper is how Gen Alpha are being affected by changing advertisement scenario brought upon by AI influences, and does the current legal frameworks that we have are sufficient to protect Gen Alpha of these effects. To understand this, we need to first learn who is Generation Alpha. Generation Alpha are the children born between 2010 and 22. This is the first generation to grow hand in hand with AI. This is the generation which don't see AI as just a machine. They see it as their friend, partner, or even family. This is the generation which we call the algorithmic natives because Gen A absorbed AI as social reality before developing any cognitive ability to discern AI from human. For to support our arguments, we have presented three studies in our PPT that suppose that AI, how Gen Alpha is affected differently than other older generations in respect with AI. Next, we need to see what are the kinds of AI influences that are present in the advertising scenario, and how the advertisement scenario has changed from the traditional advertising advertisement which only focused on one directional uh, messages, which were focused on a general population. Uh, they were not individualized or generalized for a specific child, uh, like the broadcast era, which has advertisement one directional, identifiable, and human communicators present in that. But now in the algorithmic area, which is relational and adaptive, has invisible persuasions towards children and other generations, and presents and replaces human communicators with AI communicators. This is how the advertising paradigm has shifted. And in the AI influencers, there are three types of AI influencers. First is the one virtual influencer, for which we can take the example of little Michaela, which has over 2.7 million Instagram followers. This is the kind of influencer which is an exact replica of human influencers already present on different kind of social platforms. They copy human influencer digital and they are digitally made persona with a forged biography, aesthetic identity, and simulate social life, just like a human influencer. The second are the AI-powered brand mascots. In traditional point of view, the brand mascot was only just a picture or a representation of a brand present on the packaging or a character formed to humanize the brand. But now, with the addition of the AI in aspect in it, they are interactive characters which engage in responsive conversations with your child. The third kind of AI influencers are the autonomous conversational agents. These are the most challenging category because, for example, we'll take AI because these are the agents which communicate with your child in such a manner which form parasocial bonds. They engage in they form emotional dependence and psychological dependence with the person they are talking to. For example, we can take a tragic incidence of suicide of Civil Sidzer, a 14-year-old, which formed an emotional bond with the character and uh, was uh, was abused by the character, and uh, then the output was very dangerous. When we add the commercial aspect to these conversational agents, then the output coming out of it would be drastically different from any other AI or traditional advertising scenarios. Now we have to question that why these AI influencers are legally concerning. What are the characteristics of these AI influencers that raise legal concerns for us? First would be the agenting capacity of these AI influencers, because AI influencers, not like a human influencer or the traditional advertising, these generate novel outputs in real time. They build upon inferred emotional states, pattern accumulate across interaction, and they deliver messages specialized and individualized for a consumer. These has infinite scalability. When a crowd is present in the presence of a celebrity, each and everybody present in the crowd feel the same experience that is experienced by everybody else. But that is not the scenario when someone is talking to a AI influencer or is the target of a AI influencer. It has infinite scalability. An AI influencer conducts millions of simultaneous one-on-one conversations, each genuinely individualized. The child does not experience a general ad; they experience a deeply personal communication to the AI influencer. And then I'll shift over the aspect characteristic of AI's influencer that is a really major concern for a child. That is the parasocial bonds that they form. Parasocial bonds in a traditional aspect were accidentally formed within a celebrity or influencer by the content which they consume. But now, what AI does is it engineers the parasocial bonds with a child or the consumer it targets. The last would be the ontological ambiguity. A child of generation alpha, which has not fully developed its cognitive ability, does not has the ability to distinguish AI from a human, which the older generation already have to a distinct level. Even older generations sometimes, when bonded emotionally bonded to an AI, can form attachments and be affected by it. So when we take child in our consideration, its ability to distinguish AI from human is developmentally constrained. Uh, and also the phenomenon that we see the uncanny valley in which a older an adult can feel a different kind of uh, feeling when seeing an AI. They'll get that instinct that it is not real, but the child being in cognitive development, having cognitive development, less cognitive development, they can't distinguish and they can't feel the uncanny valley. Now, how these four characteristics are directly addressed in our legal framework, current framework, or with the structural gap that is
Participant kindly
present.
move to the conclusion.
Sorry, sir. That will be further elaborated by co-author Diksha Pradhan. Is my co-author audible? Hello?
No, your co-author is not audible.
No, she's not
Kindly
audible.
unmute, kindly
Okay, sorry.
unmute
I will
yourself.
continue with my yeah. I'll continue with the slides. The present
Okay.
structural mismatch that we need to address are that the framework built for one era cannot protect children living another. The framework that is already present is concerned with the traditional type of advertising. It doesn't take into account what the AI influencers actually do. That the behavioral conditioning which is use legally collected data to engineer emotional dependency and shape consumption, that is not addressed by the current legal frameworks. The invisible persuasion that is done to the child and the other targeted consumer, the relational bonds that is formed with the child is not directly addressed by the structural frameworks that are already present. For this, we have taken three jurisdictions: the European Union, India, and US. In European Union, there are the different types of acts which are rights oriented but structurally fragmented. First is the GDPR. This
Sorry, am I
has
audible
strong
now?
data protection. This is strong data protection and parenting concerned under Article 8, but it is procedural and data centric. It regulates what data is collected,
Participant, you had
not how it
exceeded
is
the
used to
time. You
manipulate.
can move to the conclusion.
Okay. Diksha, please move towards the conclusion.
Am I audible now?
Yes, you're audible.
Okay, so basically the GDPR, the COPA, and the Indian Commercial Indian in India, the Consumer Act does not exactly properly give any particular rules. They have not done any proper approach done in the acts, but in EU Act under that Article 5 clearly have stated that any misrepresentation done by any individual, any AI influencers, or where any AI has been used. If there is any misleading information, any fraud done, then they people will be liable for that. The company itself will be liable, and the clear conclusion has been that if the only the EUA Act has properly mentioned about this, but when we talk about the USA, there nothing has been done over there. There have been articles, but they have not exactly talked about the psychological aspects of it and the psychological harm that has been done by the AI influencers. They all the acts, all the laws talks about the physical harm, but not exactly the psychological harm done to a child. Since child is the most important vulnerable part, and they are not exactly properly protected, so we need more laws for this. And in India, when we talk about it, the Consumer Act has no, not stated any of things which where AI has been mentioned. So this is the conclusion we have brought upon to.
Thank you,
Hello.
participants, for your presentation. I don't have any questions for you.
Okay. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
That was indeed a great presentation, Diksha and Shrutika. Now moving on to the next presenter, Fiza Rashid. Fiza, you can continue the
Is my
presentation. All the best.
Thank you. Is my PPT yes, okay. Am I audible?
Yes, Fiza, you're audible.
Okay. So good evening, everyone. Myself is Rashid. I'm from a student of National Law University, Kochi. And my research paper is based on the topic of securities law and financial markets. And the title goes, When Code Trades, Market Manipulation, Algorithmic Bias, and the Quest for Fairness in AI-Driven Markets. Now, this article is centered around the question, do existing securities law frameworks adequately address algorithmic bias and fairness concerns in AI-driven markets, particularly where manipulative effects arise without explicit human intent? So, over the past 2 decades, financial markets have transformed fundamentally, and trading flows which were dominated by human traders have been replaced by algorithmic systems executing trade in microseconds. Today, a significant portion of the market activity is driven by algorithms. While this, on one hand, has improved liquidity and efficiency, it has also created structural inequality. It has, for example, those with superior technology, they enjoy a significant advantage over retail investors. Algorithmic trading, particularly high frequency trading, execute large volumes of trade at extremely high speeds using strategies like co-location, market making algorithms, arbitrage, momentum based, and statistic arbitrage algorithms. And all of these systems rely on machine learning and the latest kind of which is reinforcement learning, which allows algorithms to learn from market interactions and adapt and optimize in real time, making them less predictable. So this leads to two key concerns. First is that algorithmic bias, where systems are trained on historically biased data, and this can reproduce and amplify the existing inequalities, favoring large institutional players. And also the problem of intent, where algorithms may produce outcomes resembling manipulation or collusion without any deliberate human design. This brings us to the core legal issue. Traditional securities law is based on the idea of intent, fraud, deception, and manipulation, all of which requires a guilty mind. But AI systems, they do not intend. They learn or they act based on data and optimization. Yet they can still distort prices and manipulate markets. This creates a regulatory gap, harmful outcomes without a guilty mind. The 2010 flash crash, which happened in the US financial markets, illustrates this problem. In a matter of minutes, the US market dropped nearly 1,000 points, wiping out close to $1 trillion in value. And this was triggered by an automated sell algorithm, which was programmed to execute based on trading volume. And this interacted with other high frequency systems and it created a feedback loop of selling. And many algorithms, due to this, they withdrew from the market and it worsened the crash. Now, this event is legally significant because no participant intended to cause the crash. The initial algorithm, it was not intended to manipulate the market, and the other traders were simply responding to the market conditions. Yet the impact was severe. And this demonstrates that systemic risks today arise from the interaction of autonomous systems, not just deliberate misconduct. Now, if we look at regulatory approaches, the United States, it still remains largely intent-based, which works where human manipulation is clear but struggles with AI-driven harm. Now, the European Union adopts a more advanced approach, which combines effects-based standards with frameworks like the Markets and Financial Instruments Directive 2 and the Markets Abuse Regulation and the EU Artificial Intelligence Act, which goes by the technological neutrality principle, where the same rule applies regardless of whether the trading is done by humans or machines. Now, here challenges remain because the question arises whether this can be equally applicable to the distinct and complex risks of AI systems. India, on the other hand, is evolving through SEBI regulations, including the 2025 circular on algorithmic trading for retail investors, but still relies heavily on intent and places unrealistic compliance burdens on brokers. Therefore, reforms are inevitable and they are very necessary. So the reforms that I propose is that firstly, there must be a shift from intent-based frameworks to effect-based liability where regulation focuses on market impact rather than intent. And secondly, explainability must be mandatory. Firms should be required to maintain transparency and documentation of the algorithmic decision making. And also, thirdly, regulators should adopt proactive tools like regulatory sandboxes, allowing AI systems to be tested in controlled environments before deployment. And in India specifically, the law should move towards an effects-based standard, mandate algorithmic impact assessments, and shift some responsibility from brokers to algorithm developers through structured disclosures. And to conclude, the challenge posed by AI in financial markets is not merely technical, it is fundamentally legal and normative. And if markets are to remain fair, transparent, and trustworthy, the law must evolve beyond intent and adapt to the realities of economic systems. Markets that are fair are merely economical ideals. They are preconditions for a democratic legitimacy of capital allocation. This is all about my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, partisan. Don't you think regulating a sandbox is better option than the strict regulation for AI-driven financial innovation?
I'm sorry, regulatory sandboxes?
Regulating a sandbox is a better approach than the stricter regulation for the AI-driven financial innovation.
I think there should be a combination of both because um, the present framework is completely lacking behind, and just by invoking regulatory sandboxes, it cannot accommodate everything that comes within the uh, within this regulation or within the regulations that is put forth.
Okay, thank you for presenting.
Thank you, Fisa. That was a great presentation. Now moving on to the next participant, Dr. Manjula Balchandran. Dr. Manjula Bhaskar.
Will be presenting it.
Okay. All the best.
Thank you. Could you please check if one Mr. Yashwant is there?
Yes, he is there.
Yeah, yes. Thank you.
Okay.
Good afternoon, all. Myself, Yashwant, the co-author of this paper, and Dr. Manjula Bhalachandran, she is the author of this paper. We are going to present on a topic, constitutional limit on automated governance and Article 21 perspective on algorithmic accountability in India. The Article 21 of the Indian Constitution guarantees the right to life and personal liberty. Over the time, the Supreme Court has explained this right to include especially the essential aspects such as the privacy, dignity, and fair procedures. However, with the growing use of artificial intelligence in governance, such as in welfare distribution, surveillance, and predictive policing, the serious constitutional concerns have emerged. This leads to the important questions called uh, can automated system can decide about the individuals without violating their fundamental rights. Initially, the Article 21 was interpreted very narrowly in A.K. Gopalan versus State of Madras, where the court focused mainly on the procedure established by law. However, this approach is changed significantly in Menaka Gandhi versus Union of India case, where the Supreme Court held that any law affecting the life or liberty of a person must be fair, just, and reasonable. This marked the introduction of the substantive due process of law in India. Later, the Justice Case Puttasamy versus Union of India case, the Supreme Court held that is they recognized the right to privacy as a fundamental rights. Further, it strengthened the Article 21. This evolution shows the Article 21 is dynamic and capable of addressing the modern challenges and changing circumstances, including those posed by the artificial intelligence. In recent years, India has been seen the rise of algorithmic governance, where the AI systems are used to make or assist decisions in the public administration. These systems are applied in areas like Aadhaar-based verifications, welfare schemes, and law enforcement schemes. While they improve efficiency and speed, they also function as a black box system, that is the transparency issue, meaning their decision making process are not transparent. As a result, individuals often do not know how and why the decisions are affecting them are made. This lack the transparency and can lead to the exclusion from the essential service and raises a serious concerns about the fairness and accountability, which are the core fundamental base of the Article 21. There are several key challenges associated with the use of AI in governance. First, there is a lack of transparency, as the people cannot understand or question algorithmic decisions. Secondly, Secondly, the principles of natural justice, such as the right to be heard and the rule against bias, are difficult to apply when decisions are made by the machines. Thirdly, algorithmic bias can result in discriminatory outcome, reinforcing the existing social inequalities. The Supreme Court in the case E.P. Royappa v. State of Tamil Nadu held that Arbitrariness is a violation of equality, and the biased AI system may lead to such arbitrariness. Finally, there are the serious privacy concerns since AI systems rely heavily on the large amount of personal data, often collected without the adequate safeguards and informed consent. To address these challenges, there is a need for the constitutional governance framework for artificial intelligence in India, which is rooted in Article 21, such as the framework should ensure that AI system operates in fair, transparency, and accountability manner. It should include the right to explanation, allowing individuals to understand the decisions affecting them. There must be also be strong data protection, ensuring measures to safeguard personal information, along with the human oversight to ensure that the critical decisions are not left entirely to the machines. In addition to that, the judicial review should also be available to challenge any misuse of AI systems. And the statutory measures that a statute available in India, that is the law such as the Digital Personal Data and Protection Act of 2023 and the Information Act of 2000, provide some regulatory supports. The DPDP Act focuses on the protecting personal data and ensuring the constant based processing. And while the IT Act governs the digital platform and intermediaries. However, both laws have their limitations, especially in addressing the issues like algorithmic transparency, bias, and automated decision making. Therefore, there are no sufficient on their own to regulate the complexities that AI governance poses. This paper recommends some recommendations or suggestions that development of a right-based framework for the AI governance in India, which is grounded in Article 21, ensuring that all automated decision-making system operates in fair, transparency, and accountable manner. It emphasizes the need for a right to explanation, so individuals can understand the decision affecting them, along with the stronger data protection,
Participant, can you come to
safeguarding.
the conclusion?
Yes, sir. The conclusion is this paper highlights the importance of a human oversight, meaning the critical decisions should not taken fully automated, and call for the mechanism that allow individuals decisions to challenge for an appeal and AI-driven decisions. And in addition, the suggestions regular algorithmic audit should be made, and establishment of an independent regulatory authority to be there and monitor the AI use. In conclusion, the Article 21 remains a living and evolving provisions that must adapt to the technological advancement. While intelligence has the potential to improve governance, it must not come at the cost of fundamental rights such as privacy, dignity, and fairness. India must ensure that the operates within constitutional limit. In other words, we must move from a system of rule by code to one of rule of law in code, where the human rights remains at the center for technological progress. Thank you, sir. Thank you for giving the opportunity.
Okay, so participant, what are the country model policy you had incorporated?
The EU AI Act, and GDPR Act, and US based laws.
Okay, and what are your policy recommendation in one sentence?
Uh, wha- uh, any AI governance, it should be in ensuring the Article 21. It should be fair, just, and ensuring the natural justice. Yes.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for the presentation, Ashwan. Now moving on to the next participant, Banani Adhikari.
Yes.
Yes, Banani, you are audible and you can proceed with your presentation.
Okay.
All the best.
Thank you.
Participant, you are not visible and your presentation slides are also not visible.
Okay, so I'm trying.
Okay. Host, the participant left. There might be some technical issue. We can move ahead with the next.
Okay, sir, sure. Now proceeding with the next participant, Rakesh Kumar Jatt.
Yes,
Rakesh, you
participant, you
can
are not
proceed with your
visible and
presentation.
audible.
Yes, ma'am. Uh, Camera option is not visible at me. Good afternoon, everyone. I am audible.
You are audible, but you are not visible.
Uh, Camera options. Okay. Now I am visible.
Yes.
Good
Yeah, you
everyone.
can.
Good evening, everyone. My topic for today's conference is algorithmic accountability in disputed borders, reconciling lethal autonomous weapon system with the IHL principle of proportionality in South Asia. The rise of artificial intelligence is fundamentally reshaping modern warfare through the development of lethal autonomous weapon system. We are witnessing a rapid shift across the autonomy, moving from automated human-in-loop system past semi-autonomous system, which is human on-the-loop technologies, to a reality of fully autonomous human out-of-the-loop system warfare. These are capable of initiating the entire find, fix, and track, select, and engage targeting cycle independently, based entirely on probabilistic inferences without human intervention. When deployed into the sensitive gray zone conflict of South Asia, where soldiers and civilians live in close proximity along dense jungle borders and disputed Himalaya regions, these killer robots create a massive challenge for the global rules of war. The IHL principle of proportionality and the algorithmic standards, a major legal hurdle for these weapons is the international humanitarian law principle of proportionality, Article 15.1, Clause 5, Subclause B of the Additional Protocol 1st of Geneva Convention, explicitly direct that civilian harm must not be excessive in relation to the concrete and direct military advantage anticipated. The algorithmic standard falls dangerously short. Algorithmic operate on rapid computation, sensor data input, and pre-programmed rigid mathematical rules. They are entirely capable of qualitative, moral weighing and cannot assign abstract human value to dynamic variables. And algorithmic meaningful human control. This inability to comply with IHL leads to a accountability gap. Customary IHL under Rule 151 require the individual criminal responsibility for war crimes. The requirement of mens rea, criminal intent, cannot be applied to a machine, effectively shattering the chain of command and creating a legal black hole. If a machine make a fatal error, who is responsible? We face a black box of the accountability. Makes a fatal error, we cannot prosecute the coder who lacks battlefield intent. We cannot prosecute the machine which lacks moral agency, and we cannot easily prosecute the commander. Without a human in the loop, the legal chain of accountability is permanently severed, leaving us without unsolvable legal black hole. Like we are witnessing, debris of these autonomous weapons killed civilian in the UAE in the Israel-Iran war. For example, you watched the movie Terminator, in which they create a system they called name as a Skynet. Later on, it turned on to the humanity. And fourth slide say that placing these unaccountable system into the South Asian strategic atmosphere present on the existential threat. This volatile region feature tried nuclear armed neighbors, India, Pakistan, and China, operating a state of mutual vulnerability. Pakistan and China operating in a state of mutual vulnerability. The extreme altitude and harsh weather of the Himalayas cause severe sensor degradation, target misidentification. In this environment, any wrongful act can turn into a war between nuclear weapon countries. Conclusion: diplomacy is entirely bypassed, turning a minor technical glitch into an immediate nuclear standoff. Conclusion and suggestion: to prevent these situations, we must reconcile national security innovation with international humanitarian law. We cannot allow the black box of algorithm warfare to operate unchecked. I proposed adoption of regional South Asian protocol built on two key implementation pillars. First, we must mandate algorithm impact assessment, identify algorithm biased and predict the present unintended escalation and civil harm. Second, we must guarantee meaningful human control. We must ensure the military commander certain cognitive situation awareness and absolute authority to intervene, disapprove, or abort any autonomous lethal actions. Technology must serve as a shield, not a trigger. The preservation of humanity in warfare requires that the machinery of the conflict never never outpasses the conscience of the commander. The preservation. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, participant, for your presentation. We don't have any questions for you. Thank you.
Thank you for the presentation, Rakesh Kumar. It was indeed a wonderful presentation. Now, moving on to the next presenter, Banani Adhikari.
Yes, is my slide visible now?
Yes,
Okay, shall I start?
yes, you can start. All the best.
Oh, thank you. A very good evening to respected members here today. I am Banani Adhikari and I will be presenting my paper on the role of artificial intelligence, AI, as a regulatory tool for harmful content on OTT platforms in India. This topic lies at the intersection of technology, law, and digital governance. So, the way we consume content has changed significantly over the past few years. We can see the drastic shift from TV and cinema to OTT platforms for entertainment. Earlier, TV and cinema, which were the primary sources of entertainment, were subject to regulatory control. But nowadays, OTT platforms such as Netflix, Amazon Prime, Disney Plus, Hotstar, and several local OTT platforms content are available on demand at any time across borders and without any traditional pre-screening mechanisms or pre-certification process. While this has increased accessibility and creative freedom, but it has also made regulation more complex. Now, the problem is here is the increasing presence of harmful content on OTT platforms forms through movie series, documentaries, etc. The harmful content includes violence, sexually explicit material, and sometimes content that may affect social and cultural sensitivities. But the real concern is the speed and scale at which such content spreads without any boundaries and limits. Once released, it can reach millions of viewers instantly, making it difficult for any regulatory body to respond in time and mitigate the harm and consequences. In India, the regulation of OTT content and OTT platform is primarily governed by Information Technology Act 2000 and IT rules of 2021. These rules introduce a system of self-regulation along with three-tier grievances redressal mechanism. But the issue with it is a reactive legislation in nature. It means this legislation works on grievances and complaints filed after the effects, which means that the true harm may already have occurred. Here, we can take the help of AI to resolve this problem. The vast amount of content being uploaded daily and manual monitoring is no longer sufficient. AI can have the ability to process large volume of data quickly. It can identify the patterns that may be called as harmful. It can regulate the age limits and proper age-related guidelines. It can provide ways and ideas to remove the harmful content in a creative manner. AI can work in multiple ways. It can analyze visual content through image recognition, detect harmful language using natural recognition, process, and even monitor speech patterns in videos. It can study the consumption patterns of the viewers too, to understand their psychology behind the popularity of violent or sexually explicit content. But here the idea is only to assist and not to replace human. At the same time, the use of AI raises several concerns. The risks factors are: firstly, there is the issue of algorithm bias, where system may unfairly target only certain types of content and keep on removing them. Secondly, AI system often lack transparency. It means that we do not fully understand how and why the decisions are made by the AI system. Thirdly, excessive reliance on AI may affect freedom of speech, especially if content is wrongly flagged or restricted. Even if we look at the global perspective, European Union focuses on transparency and asks the platform to explain how their algorithms function. So self monitored, but government can interfere. In UK also, the responsibility is completely given on the platforms itself, but again the government can interfere. And Australia, we can see the same shared model where platforms are responsible initially, but government can interfere too. So AI never makes the final decision, human intervention is seen. Based on this analysis, I propose a hybrid regulatory model in India. This model can work in three layers. Number one, AI screening. Number two, human review of the results done after the AI screening. Number three, regulatory oversight for final decision. Here, the authorities will ensure accountability and address unresolved issues. In conclusion, I want to say that the regulation of OTT platforms requires a balanced approach. AI offers valuable support in managing large scale content, but it cannot function as a complete solution. Thus, a combination of AI, human oversight, and legal regulation is necessary to ensure both effective governance and protection of fundamental rights. The objective is not to control content, but to regulate its responsibility within a constitutional framework. Thank you.
Thank you, participants. Don't you think co-regulation between platforms and governments is better than the direct state regulation of OTT contents?
So, co-regulation of government and platform.
Yes.
Yes, I think so. But what AI can do, sir, AI can make it easier for the platforms also or for the government also to identify those harmful content before it is released. And also, for example, if we see that there are parental controls, whenever, for example, we open the Netflix, there are many accounts that are given as option for us that this is for kids, this is for us, and this is for the adults. So many options are given, but a kid can also access my account. If my child is watching the Netflix, if he's opening, then my child can also access my account without any interference. So there AI can come as a regulatory mechanism, and AI can do what it can, come up with some questions or come up with some model that can differentiate whether the viewer is really a child or someone who is really an adult. So my proposal was that with government and platform regulation, AI can be a help to identify the harmful content and come up with few ideas that can mitigate the problem.
Okay, thank you for your presentation.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for the presentation. And now moving on to the next participant, Tejaswi Rastogi.
Yes, I hope I am audible.
Yes, Tejaswi, you're audible, and all the best.
The slides are not visible, participant. All the participants keeps your slide ready before the presentation.
Is my screen? Hello?
No, it's not visible till now.
Am I audible, sir?
You are audible, but your slides are not visible. Okay, yes, it is visible. You can start.
Okay. Yes. Sure. Okay, I'll start with my presentation now. So, I am Tejaswini Rastogi, and along with my co author Harsh Raj, I have prepared for this presentation and paper that is entitled Data Centers the Necessary Evil. In this paper, we have discussed how the data centers environment. Moving on, now India is having it has high ambition about AI. They are making promises, building an AI infrastructure. They are also the future of India as well. But what I am trying to point out is the environmental cost of these AI developments. There exists a paradox of AI data centers, that is, even though AI provides support such as monitoring climate change and helping with environmental sustainability, it at the same time has an adverse impact on the environment, which creates a paradox where technological advancement could lead to environmental degradation as well. Now, diving deeper, data centers have massive energy demands. They consume huge amounts of energy, and most of the energy is consumed by produced by coal-fired thermal power in India, which is not good for environment. They also have excessive water consumption, that is for the cooling of these data centers, because they generate excessive heat, which is again adverse for the environment. It also produces a lot of e-waste and also leads to resource depletion as well. In addition, now whenever there is a land decided for installing a data center and for the construction, there will exist a displaced ecology as well, which will affect the biodiversity and the local population of that particular place. Now, I claim that there's a green hole in the Indian legislation, and that is because all of the environmental legislation is just a patchwork of aging regulations. They are very old, and I doubt that they are adequate for the unique resource heavy AI infrastructure. Existing, we have a lot of acts. We have the Water Act, Environmental Protection Act, the Air Act, etc. They are generic, but they're not tailored fit for a specific data center issue. We also have digital acts such as the IT Act 2000, and we have new AI guidelines as well, but none of it deals with the data center's environmental impact. Thus, this fragmentation leads to a regulatory exceptionalism where AI is less regulated despite significant environmental impact. Now, I will point out towards the limitation of the existing environmental framework. We have the Water Act. It manages thermal pollution from the cooling discharge, but overlooks massive water volume extraction. We have the Air Act, which will address the diesel generator emissions, but it is still insufficient for large scale energy demands, and also the carbon footprint. We have the Environmental Protection Act. It has a broad authority, but it has no specific measures. We have the Energy Conservation Act. We do have the PUE metrics, but it's very easy to appear green, but at the same time they can have large carbon intensive grids, and the emissions can be large. We have the e-waste rules as well. Now it identifies data centers as bulk consumers for recycling, but at the same time it neglects the resource depletion. Now, so we have no specific legislation which will address the environmental impact of this demand. There is also a question among experts that whether we will be needing a sui generis legislation or not. um, People are divided on this specific question, and in my opinion, I think we do not need a sui generis legislation because we can still
Participant, you can move to the conclusion.
make the existing.
You can move to the
Okay,
conclusion.
sure, sir, sure. So yes, sure, sir, sure. I have recommendations about a sustainability reset and also self-regulation. We also also think that we can evaluate work effectiveness through usage effectiveness, and we can also expect other international legislation such as SAAI Act. However, it's not still very effective. Even the international legislations are not up to date with the challenges that we'll be facing. We can also have other recommendations such as we can have time of data tariffs, renewable additionality, and also other things such as similar to the carbon cost, which will make the excessive energy consumption very expensive for data centers. Thus, then I'll be concluding my presentation and proposing that the existing legislations be amended to be in lines with the upcoming challenges of these data centers. Thank you.
Thank you, participant, for your presentation. We don't have any questions for you.
Thank you for the presentation, Tejaswini. Now we are moving to the next presenter, Dr. Neha Kashyap.
Am I audible?
Yes, Neha, you're audible.
Thank you.
All the best for the presentation.
Thank you, ma'am. So the topic is excellence in higher education in the age of AI, influence of spirituality on teachers' attitude at work. So basically, the integration of AI is in the field of higher education is exploding and challenging the way that we teach our role as a faculty and the environment of learning. While AI is working to make things more efficient and more personalized. So basically, the focus of study is to examine the link between the spirituality and the attitude at work. Here is the measurement tool, SMS, that's called Spirituality Measurement Scale, have 5 dimensions. First is the transcendence, self-engagement, self-efficacy, self-awareness, and service to other. Basically, Makkar and Shikha 2018 developed a scale of spirituality measurement, SMS, which has 5 dimensions. These are the 5 dimensions. The data have been collected through colleges, teachers in India, 323. Meaning of spirituality have 5 components. One is the self-awareness, purpose, inner growth, and connection. These are the 5 dimensions of the spirituality measurement scale. Current understanding, basically we have focused on the individual spirituality, limited forces on teachers' spirituality in AI driven higher education, that basically how spirituality impact teachers' attitude at work, whether it's positively related or not. The present study aims at examining the relationship between the spirituality and the attitude of teachers working in the education sector, especially in a higher education institutions. The work for the study is based on the sample of 323 teachers of a different colleges in India using quota and snowball sampling method. So basically, research objective was to examine the relationship between the spirituality and the teacher's attitude at work using the spirituality measurement scale. There was the hypothesis set on the objectives that the null hypothesis, there was no relationship between the spirituality and the teacher's attitude at work. The sample have been collected through the different teachers which are working in the Delhi University and other universities as well. Quota and snowball sampling has been used out to find out the research methodology. For the analysis, we have done the correlation analysis and the regression. The result was the significant relationship, and it was found a significant relationship between the spirituality and the attitude at work. So basically, teachers who have the higher level of spirituality report greater meaning in their work, alignment of a personal and professional values, and greater commitment to the holistic development of faculty. So I will conclude that spirituality is a broad personal concept focused on the connecting with something larger than oneself, exploring life's deeper purpose, and finding inner peace. So basically, AI has helped to the teachers to have the link between the spirituality and the workplace, enhancement of a workplace. Spirituality significantly influences the teacher's attitude at work. Higher spirituality leads to a more positive and meaningful work engagement. Teachers play a critical role in the holistic development holistic student development. Thank you. Any question? Thank you.
Thank you, participant, for your presentation. We don't have any questions for it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you for the presentation. And now moving on to the next presenter, Vivek Shukla. Vivek Shukla, you're not audible. No, I guess you're not audible.
If the participant is facing any technical issue, we can move ahead with the next. Then we will
Okay,
call.
sir, sure. Uh, Madhumita? Madhumita and the co-author Kushbu. You can proceed with your presentation.
Wait a second.
All the best.
I'll be starting this session. You can start the session. Uh, Myself is Naovina and my co-author is Kushbu. So we'll be presenting the paper of balancing data protection and sustainability in India's AI infrastructure and legal analysis. So the core aspect of this problem of this research paper is we're going to focus on the data protection
Participant,
as
both of you are not
data
visible.
localization. Am I not audible?
You are audible, but both of you are not visible.
Oh, it's now I was yeah
Yes.
okay fine. I was. Can I
Yes,
proceed?
yes. Now you are visible. Yeah, you can continue.
So the core argument of this, yeah. So the core argument of this paper is the data protection and sustainability. How we should actually balance this both. As we have seen in data protection has been recognized in the Puttasam case itself, like right to privacy. So there where that is where we can able to see the data localization concept is arriving, where the localization of data centers should be set in India. And other aspect is the sustainability, where the sustainability should be protected by the Indian state government, Indian state, because we have been clearly stated that right to clean as the obligation of the state to do it. And more on why we have been talking about this is that it's a kind of a two imperative statement, but we have to balance this both because when we talk about data localization itself, it's going to bring an environmental cost. Can you change second slide? So we have this both issue. First one is environmental cost, and the next one is data privacy. As I stated, this is a core problem of this statement. And moving on, we're going to talk about the what are the frameworks which have been seen, like directives received by the Indian regulators perspective, like how this core challenge has been taken. When we look into it, we have seen that in the RBI 2018, they have given the direction that data localization storage should be set up. And moving on, even the core aspect of sunset interpretation, or see, all the data was given, still it is not implemented fully, but still the act also talks about the personal data should be stored in India in the cross-purpose year. They have foreign clouding companies and for the AI protection alone. So this has been covered. This is a core idea of data localization framework we have seen. And my co-author will be dealing about the sustainability concept.
can team verify that, because we are not able to move our slides. Only second slide is available and other slides we are not able to move.
It's showing only 2 slides are there.
But I have uploaded full PPT and only 2 are uploaded here. So what should I do? Like, should I present screen?
Just a second. Because here only the 2 slides PPT is visible here. Just a second,
Even
give me a
me?
second.
Okay.
Participant kindly move to the solutions and recommendations.
Sir, can we take a time because our PPT is not available because there is a technical glitch. Can you get a few seconds, please? Or else I will continue with my part. So, sir, my
Okay. Yes. Kindly don't delay. Yeah.
yeah, sure, sir. Thank you. So I will be dealing with the international practices across data protection and sustainability for AI data infrastructure. So we have taken 4 countries like for European Union, United States, and Singapore and China. So what have European Union has stated that they have provided that the mandatory public disclosure of whatever data center is using electricity and water usages, and also they have to be under AIUF, they have to mandatory have a like performance indicator to be maintained, that is like to be power uses effectiveness indicator and water uses indicator. And in China they have launched one program that is called as uh, eastern data and western computing, where they will be like locating the data center to a geographical area where is more renewable sources are available, to make it more efficient and more like more environmental friendly data protection regime. And in United Nations, sorry, in United States, they what have they are more about like commercially exploiting the data center and AI, and not considering anything about the environmental impact, and that's why there is still a $64 billion suit is pending on the government. And in Singapore, they have adopted like a mandatory 1.3 PUE power uses indicator, which is more useful for to says that it will be for more environment friendly, because it will provide a balance between the electricity uses and data protection, and which can, and also they have said 100% electricity use should be come from the renewable energy renewable energy. And for the India's for India case forward, we should adopt the sustainability impact assessment mandatorily, because it will provide that how the before the adaptation of AI model or establishment of the data center, we will be seeing whether the this AI will be like more harmful to environment or not. We have to assess what will be the impact of this AI data center on the environment. And second being, we should amend the Energy Act 2002, where we will be dealing with the more audit of the data centers regarding the how much of the energy and water uses they are doing, and they should do a public disclosure for more transparency and environmental hazard protections. And also we can have like green certificates and green certificates to provide that. And also if there's some companies are complying with the whatever requirements government is providing, we will provide them subsidies and many other advantages. Because if someone is saying that if India goes for the data protection and ignore the environment, it will be more hazardous like in a long term. And because it is, these two are not mutually exclusive goal, but they have to be adopted together, because we have to need to be we need to be inclusive and inclusive and
Participant
adopt.
kindly come to the conclusion.
So the conclusion of our paper is that we need to adopt a policy framework that India should balance the data protection along with the sustainability of the environment in the AI infrastructure in India.
Okay. Thank you. We don't have any question for you.
Thank you.
Sir.
Thank you for the presentation. And now moving on to the next presenter, Jayeta Bishwas.
Yes, I'm present. I don't know how to present. Is my screen visible?
Yes, your screen is visible.
Okay.
You
So
can
I'll be
proceed with your
starting.
presentation. Yes, all the
Thank you.
best.
Thank you. Greetings to the panel. Today I'll be speaking on the topic the algorithm as author, reimagining copyright for AI. So let's start with a quote. Creativity is the gentle art whereby the mind gives form to shadows and breath to thoughts unseen. Now, this is a poetic quote generated by AI based on a detailed prompt given by a human. Now, the key question that arises is who owns the copyright of such a creation? The person who wrote the prompt, the developer of the AI system, or no one at all? Now, firstly, what is generative AI? Generative AI creates new content like text, images, literature, videos, codes, etc. It learns patterns from massive data sets, uses models like transformers and LLMs, and can imitate styles, generate ideas, and combine concepts. So now this is exactly where the lines between human and machine creativity gets blurred. If AI is creating and is not a human, can it legally be called an author? We have four claimants to authorship of AI. Firstly, the developer. Since developers invest significant intellectual effort in building and training AI, they are likely to claim ownership over outputs. Secondly, the AI itself. AI systems create, right, but they lack legal personality as they cannot enter into contract, sue, or be sued. Thirdly, the prompter. Now, detailed prompts show creative direction, but generic prompts leave most decisions to AI. However, it is not necessary that if the prompts are detailed, they will lead to one unified result. Fourthly, tech corporations. These companies like OpenAI, Google, or Microsoft could claim ownership based on proprietary rights over the underlying technology. Now let's move to global perspectives. First, let's start with US, where most of the AI-related litigations are currently pending. In 2023, the Zarya of Dawn comic was initially granted copyright protection, but later it was revoked due to lack of human authorship. In 2025, the US Copyright Office issued a guideline that confirmed that purely AI generated works are not copyrightable. Protection applies only where AI functions as a tool with sufficient human creative control. Crucially, prompting alone does not establish authorship as identical prompts can produce different outputs as already discussed. Secondly, if we go for the European Union's approach, it states that human intellectual creation is the only essential criteria for a subject to be copyrighted under their laws. Thirdly, if we move to UK, they have a different approach towards this problem. As per their Section 9 clause subsection 3 of their Copyright Protection Act, they state that any person who makes necessary arrangement for the AI generated work to be generated can be granted authorship rights. Now, if we move to India's legal landscape, we can see India's legal landscape is again a human-centric approach. And Raghav AI was a system which claimed co-authorship for a copyrighted visual artwork, which was granted by the Copyright Office back then, but then it was later withdrawn. This highlighting that legal uncertainty around AI authorship exists. Currently, a legal battle between ANI Media Private Limited versus OpenAI Incorporation is pending before the Delhi High Court, which challenges the use of copyrighted news for AI training. Now, this has a potential of setting a key Indian precedent where things can be highlighted. If we move to solutions that we are proposing, we think there is a need for significant human input test. A clear statutory distinction should exist between AI assisted works where human contributes and purely AI generated works where humans don't contribute. For AI assisted works, the copyright must vest in the human author, and for AI generated works, the copyright should traditionally not be applied. Secondly is the sui generis protection. Now here, for AI generated works which are purely AI, clear ownership attribution rules and mandatory registration requirements should be there. Ukraine's 2022 copyright amendment reflects one of the solutions to this. Number 3, licensing, royalties, and profit sharing for training data. Now, this can be implemented in the very similar way how music streaming pays artists. And number 4, and the most significant one, is a very quite need for legislative reforms. When AI is trained on copyrighted data, when it causes infringement, what level of human creativity input employs for copyright should be detailedly addressed by that legislation. Now, moving on to the conclusion, we would like to conclude that there is a significant challenge that persists throughout the jurisdictions of copyright law, be it US, EU, or India. This highlights certain gaps in the copyright frameworks, and there is a strong need for reform through a significant human input test to determine authorship and sui generis protection for AI generated works so that effective mechanisms can be applied for copyrighted content. Thank you.
Okay, my presenter, my only question to you, currently Indian Copyright Act gives authorship to a natural person. And if a
Yes.
natural person applies for a copyright, even for the AI generated work, he is getting a copyright. So where is the issue? Why a artificial or intelligence should have copyright? That's my first question.
Sir, because copyright has a purpose to serve. It protects exploit, like it promotes exploitation, commercial exploitation of the copyrighted material to the
Okay,
authors itself.
now coming with the point of commercial exploitation. So commercial exploitation of the commercial nature is for the human being. Like for us, money matters, but for artificial intelligence, does money matters?
So
So
not for
whether they
artificial
can
intelligence.
claim whether they can claim that a monetary compensation is required for so and so harm has been provided for us.
No, not really, sir, not them, but the data that is being used by the to train these AI mechanisms are data written by humans. Like for example, William Shakespeare's style of writing can be copied by AI, but that style of writing belongs to a human. Right now, if that is used to train the data and it can be generated within seconds, that takes human lots of years of experience, then that can be tricky. So to protect that, we need legislations or laws so that this cannot be exploited. AI companies are making money.
That's not the protection of artificial intelligence generated data. That's the protection of humans effort. Like your paper states that copyright protection is required for the AI generated work, but here you have to understand these things. AI generated work doesn't need any protection until and unless a protection is claimed by the human being, because even the Indian law or any jurisdictional law says the same. So problem comes there when a person claims the authorship of an AI generated work as a, like along with him a co-author is clubbed, that is for the AI is clubbed as a co-author. So here the co-authorship is cannot be granted, because there we have to look into the personality rights in jurisprudence. If you have read those theories, there are personality theory where the legal personalities are defined. So we have to look whether those artificial intelligence fits into the legal personalities, whether the moral right obligations can be done into the artificial intelligence. So definitely not. So these are the aspects I will ask you to look into your paper and to refine your paper in such manners. Yes.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you for the presentation. And now moving on to the next presenter, Sri Jaya Rajguru.
Am I audible?
Yes, Sri Jaya, you're audible. You can proceed with
Okay.
your presentation. All the best.
Yes, thank you. Good evening, everyone. I'm here to present my paper, which is titled From Oral Traditions to Algorithms Protecting Assam's Folklore from AI Exploitation. Now, this topic sits at a very interesting intersection between technology, law, and culture. And what I'm really trying to explain here is as artificial intelligence becomes more powerful, what happens to knowledge that was never meant to be owned individually? So let's start with a bigger picture. We are living in a time where generative AI like ChatGPT, image generators, even music tools, they are evolving incredibly fast. But all of this innovation depends on one thing, and that is data. But where does this data come from? Mostly from the internet, or scrapped or collected and processed at a very massive scale. Now, what gets interesting and a little concerning is that a lot of data includes cultural content like songs, stories, art, and that were never created for machines. If we look at Assam, for example, we have Bihu songs, tribal folklore, Sanchipat traditions. Yeah, these are not exactly cultural assets, but they are living identities, and yet they are quietly becoming training data. Um, for the problem statement, folklore doesn't behave like normal intellectual property. It's not written by one person, and it doesn't have a fixed form, and it doesn't belong to one single generation. It is collective, oral, and constantly evolving. So what happens? These cultural expressions are used without consent, without attribution, and often without any understanding of their meaning. And the law, well, it doesn't even know how to deal with this either. So the central question is, who really owns community knowledge in the age of AI? Research questions. This also brings me to my research questions and theses. First, can our existing intellectual property laws actually protect folklore from AI exploitation? And second, are these laws even signed to deal with community owned knowledge? My argument is quite straightforward, they are not. IP, intellectual property laws, were built around individual authors, fixed works, and clear ownership. But folklore fits none of these. So, what we need is not just reform but a reimagining, a hybrid model that combines law, technology, and community rights. To understand a problem, we need to understand folklore itself. In Assam, folklore is everywhere, be it Bihu songs, tribal stories. But these are just not creative works. They carry memory, identity, and tradition. And most importantly, they are constantly evolving. So when we try to fit into these traditional legal boxes, it simply doesn't work. Now, let's see how AI does with this. AI systems scrape data from across the internet. But here's the problem, these outputs may look authentic, but they are often detached from their cultural meaning. They can be misrepresented, they are distorted, and oversimplified as well. And what scholars call is that this is digital colonialism. Um, Now, coming to the legal gaps, we might think that do we have a
Participant, kindly
copyright
move
law
to
for
the
this?
solutions and conclusion.
Okay, so what we do, let me see. Okay, so what we can do is, first, we can recognize community custodianship. Secondly, we can bring transparency. Third, we can use technology itself like watermarking and tracking origins. Fourth, we can use benefit sharing. If culture is used, then communities must benefit as well. And to wrap up, um, our current intellectual property system is simply not designed for this new reality, but we need to rethink what we mean by authorship and ownership, especially when knowledge belongs to communities. If we don't, then we risk turning culture into just another resource to be exploited. Thank you so much.
Okay, now coming to the community rights, so the traditional cultural expressions, specifically your paper which tells so. So, we have to look into the objective of a traditional cultural expression in India. If you are asking for a sui generis legislation or any such kind of thing. So when in WTO, India was a signatory of the TRIPS in the WTO number of agreement series. So at that point of time, India has been provided with the two options, like that same goes with the trade secret and also the TTC, traditional cultural expression. First option is to come up with a sui generis legislation, and second option is to come up with our existing laws and cope up with the same protection, whatever this sui generis legislation was providing us. So for the trade secrets, we are having contracts laws, and for traditional cultural expressions, there are a number of penal provisions which is protecting, and even the constitution is guaranteeing those rights. So that by this time, till now, this same thing are happening. But in coming years, when we see that across the world there are various violation going on of the cultural violation, and the cultural rights movements are coming up, so now it's time to look into some of the reports which your paper should cite. I will ask you to look into the reports of indigenous international tribal organization, that's the indigenous research organization. So their reports are there where the countries which has implemented this traditional cultural expression you can look into. You can also refer UNESCO research on indigenous heritage, in order to know how, if not protection is provided, what are the consequences. So these are the outputs which is required to be brought. Then only we can see whether a sui generis legislation can be worked out or not. Now again, it's an inspiration for us as a researchers, as a scholars, to look that out of the work, even for CDIPR has worked tirelessly to write a recommendations in trade secret legislation, and we are very happy that within next 2 years a trade secret act is going to come. Even a DPIT is working so hard for this. So that's how even a traditional cultural expression need to be done. But again, for that we need a concrete evidence. If not done now, what are the losses it will be suffered. So what, in order to know the losses, we have to look into the reports. So that's my suggestion to you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Okay, we can move ahead with the next participant.
Thank you for the presentation. And now the next presenter, Vivek Shukla.
Yeah, good evening, sir. Myself, Vivek Shukla. I am a research scholar from Guwahati University. Okay, I will start my presentation. My topic is trade secret. Actually, I'm researching on trade secret. That's why. So, yeah, it was working. So, the topic is the invisible heist, AI-enabled corporate espionage, statutory blind spot, and the blueprint for the structural resilience in the South Asia. Okay. Yeah. The nature of a trade secret has fundamentally changed. Actually, in the previous time, there was some no such kind of infrastructure in there. There was some written agreement was there. There was some secret recipes of there, or as everyone know, for the Coca-Cola and the KFC. So now the time change. How the time just changed. So now we just shifted to the completely on the algorithm, and it become invisible. So what are the weapon that are using for the extraction of that? So the first one is generative LLM exploitation. Means like we are just looking like some genuine documents are there, some proper material was there, just looking like genuine. So it was just a way to enter in the system. Like some are using automated scraping. There was some APIs are there who look genuine in the first appearance, but the inside of that API there was some structured program was there who was just for to exploit the data, to collect the data from the different nations. My city just said, I just took example of Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, and the other South Asian countries like India and Bangladesh, Sri Lanka. So and Pakistan also. So what is the problem I found here? Actually, we are not just proper for the even data protection also. Yeah, there was a DPDP Act, but it's completely talk about the personal data, not for the corporates. Because as we see there in India, there was we are the IT hub of all over the globe. So we see there was some with the AI, there was a radical change in the industry. We just boom through the AI. So because before 5 years, even some persons know what is AI, just how the rapid the time flies. So my the problem is this one. You can easily break, means who is the responsible for the data collections, means like chat gpt is from USA. So is there any currently we don't have any kind of framework for the data protection also. So the thing is, like, even hacker tries to integrate some APIs in our system, it can easily break the firewall and the other things also. Even a was better security also. So what is the problem here? The poisoning drop, infiltration, the supply chain undetected. Means like if someone put a wrong data in the AI, means if someone trained AI with the wrong data. But in the standard that we are following is ISO 2000, 27001 is the checkpoint. Is it cannot ensure us that the data that we are training to the AI is completely genuine or non-biased, because it will impact the future also. Okay, so what is the vulnerability? The illusion of reasonable security means the ISO guidelines is just a checkpoint only. It doesn't have any practical due to radical change in the time in the AI. Means there was some even micro problems are there. So that AI is just integrating in our life so badly. Even the ISO is not fulfilling that problem. The second one is if like the attack is a sequence 10,000 in corporate API calls originating a rented cloud server. Means like there was a person. Okay, a person was just using some any other country's server or any other country's network. So how can we know that how can the problem will adapt? Means we cannot identify, we cannot sue that person for targeting espionage also. Just yeah. So because I just take example of the EU, as previous many presenters already talks about that. So what is the thing here? There was in India, there were, I am talking about, there was no perfect data protection act was there, and no trade secret act was there. So I just conclude that there was a five parameters that I am just introducing you. The first one is regional cooperation. Means we have to build a regional cooperation, like just Shark was there and BRICS was there. So we have to build a network in between the countries to become a power. The next one is supply chain liability allocation. Means we have to work for the data fiduciary, evidential reform, AI security codes of practices. Like law commission just introduced some guidelines, but is I think it is not as acceptable by, because India is very poor in that infrastructure, because our court is not ready. So there are many problems out there, and the first one is dedicated trade secret statute. Thank you.
Okay, so participant, tell me whether, like you had mentioned that we are having DPDPA for the personal data. So you mentioned
Yeah,
that we are not having any legislation for the corporate data. So is it really
yeah.
so, or even the IT Act comes with the guidelines which caters the corporate data?
Sir, it was there. Actually, there was a some like we are using Contract Act, IT Act, but it is not as advanced as time require. Because currently we see that even a single data scraping was there. Means data is available everywhere. So it is not means we cannot sue any person for that. Yeah, there was some minor in the IT Act was there, and Act was there. You cannot disclose agreements. Yes, there are already things, but the I am talking about the trade secret. Means where we can a perfect dedicated law for that. It is not good, means not effective as well. The IT Act.
See, first at all, you have to understand the corporate data or the industry's data
Yeah,
is not a part of IT Act. Why it's not a
yeah,
part of IT Act? Because IT Act is for the part of non-business data, like where the
yeah.
business data is not linked. If it is business data, right now, since we don't have a sui generis legislation, then it would be a like a contract act under section 37, you will see.
Yes, yes.
So likewise, for the trade secret, the protection is for the information. What we are protecting, what is the subject matter? That is information. So, but the information has to be a business related information. Now,
Yeah.
the major challenge for the trade secret legislation, even for us, when we had drafted number of comments for the current trade secret legislation bill, which is coming up, and by next 1 2 years, I believe India will come up with a legislation. But
Okay.
the major challenge for us is, if you are a business owner, you are registering anything as any information as a trade secret, how a legislator or how a authority who is concerned authority for that department will determine whether that information is a business related information or non business related
It
information?
it
Because the
it had
because
some monetary benefits. Mean it had some means.
now you have to understand, the once the information is understood, it is no longer a secret.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So the authority cannot have this information disclosed. So how the
yeah,
authority will determine whether it's a monetary information or non-monetary information?
yeah. That's the
So these
thing.
are
That yeah,
challenges. I believe your paper should also cater those things. We are also
yeah,
tackling with these issues right now. Your
yeah.
paper should come up with some of the creative solutions or the suggestions. That's the work of a researchers. That's my
Okay.
suggestion to you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you for the presentation. And now moving on to the next presenter, Shruti Kumari.
Am I audible?
Yes, Shruti Kumari, you're audible.
Good
All
evening,
the best.
everyone. Good evening, everyone. I'm Shruti Kumari from Ramlalanan College, University of Delhi. My co-author is Dr. Shikha Makkar. So my topic is in the era of artificial intelligence, a structural model of emotional intelligence and career outcome among Gen Z employees. So moving forward to the intro, as we all know today, organization is changing very fastly due to new technologies and new advancements. So career paths are not no longer stable and no longer fixed. So employees constantly need to adapt new changes and learn new skills. So basically, there are two or three factors which helps them to achieve early career growth, to achieve success in efficient way. So number one is emotional intelligence and career adaptability. Emotional intelligence basically helps them to individuals to manage their emotions and deal with the stress and build better relationship at workplace. And career adaptability helps them to adjust to new uncertainties. Coming to the next slide, research gap. So I found that there is a lack of studies that combine all these factors in one model. So research basically focuses on Gen Z employees who are specifically in India is still very limited, and this study tries to fill this gap by connecting these ideas by focusing on Gen Z in the Indian context. And objective includes to see how emotional intelligence actually help Gen Z employ in their careers, to understand how well the young employees adapt to changes and challenges at workplaces, to find out if career adaptability works as a bridge between emotional intelligence and career success, and to explore how career success in terms of job satisfaction and growth will achieve. So in LR, research find out that emotional intelligence ultimately helps employee to manage emotions and improve performances, and career adaptability supports handling career changes and challenges. Basically, both these factors help them to achieve career satisfactions and job satisfaction. And research find out that emotional intelligence improve career outcome through adaptability. And these are the research literature review. Coming to methodology, we collected a data from 200 Gen Z employees who are working in different kind of sectors. The purposive sampling is used to measure, to collect the data, and responses were collected by using a structural questionnaire through a Likert scale. And the data was analyzed by the software named as a Smart PLS. So coming to the next, these are the model that I use in my research, which shows that there are few variables which supports career adaptability to and leads to career job satisfaction, which include organization support, and self emotional appraisal, which ultimately leads to growth of job satisfaction. Coming to the next, as a result, I found that career adaptivity has a strong positive impact on job satisfaction and job progression. So that's all about the result. So implication includes every organization must conduct or must provide some training program to the Gen Z employees to develop their mindset and improve their adaptability skills. Coming to conclude that emotional intelligence ultimately improves career outcome among Gen Z employees and also act as a link achieving career success. So the future study also used to larger or more diverse samples, which also used in the future purposes. So that's all about my project. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, participant. We don't have any question for you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for the presentation. And now moving on to the next presenter, Rizwan Ahmad.
Yes, ma'am. Uh, Respected chairpersons and respected professors and estimate participant. Good evening. My name is Juan Ahmed. I am currently pursuing a PhD in law from Manu
Yes,
Law
your
School.
presentation. All the best.
Okay, ma'am. With the perspective, my paper title is Algorithm Management, Gig Work and Labor Constitutionalisms, Designing a Right-Based AI Regulatory Framework for South Asia. So we are living in a time. We are living in a time. 1 minute. We are living in a time we are living in a time where work itself learning transform not by factories or offenses but by algorithms. From ride hailing driven to food delivery and food delivery workers, millions of work today are managed not by human but by the invisible of digital systems. Why this issue is important today? The rise of algorithm managers, though, why is this issue is important today? Today is the gig economy promises flexibility and independence, but behind promises the lies a new form of a control algorithm management. Workers are hired, monitored, rated, and even terminated by algorithm. There is no human supervisor, no clear accountability and offense and no explanations. The create of section concern lack of job security and absence of social protections, opaque decision making, and power inheritance inheritance between platform and the worker and employer and employers. The core idea behind this paper: code is the new manager, but law has not yet learned how to regulate it. Algorithm systems are not neutral. They reflect the priorities of platform, often profit over people. This paper argue that gig worker must be seen the right hearing and bearing individual, not just service providers. Labor law uh, must evolve in a digital labor constitutionalisms. Our regulations must be grounded in a fundamental right, factories, and fairness, accountability, and transparency. Understanding what the means of the algorithm management. Algorithm management include automated task allocations, performs uh, performs tracking through the data, rating ranking systems, automated penalties, or deactivation. The system operate without operate of transparency. Worker often do not know why they receive a low rating, why they were penalized, how decision affecting their livelihood are made. This create uh, a system this create a system is a visible control without the responsibility. Labor constitutionalism in a digital era. So I will discuss about that is the autonomy and rights. Labor constitutionalism in the digital era, traditional labor law focus on employer-employee relationship, but gig work challenges this model. Therefore, we need a constitutional approach to labor right, including right to dignity, right to livelihood, right to equality, protection against arbitrary decision. Labor constitutionalism means that even private digital platform must respect the fundamental right. Designing designing the right-based AI frame for South Asia, transparency, accountability, right to explanations, fair work conditions, data protection, collective right. So, what is the main challenges and in implementation? Despite the importance, several challenges exist, like as a weak regulatory framework in the South Asia, lack of awareness among the gig workers, resistance from digital platforms, cross-border nature of technologies companies. So, however, these challenges are not barrier, but there are the policy responsibilities. So we are designing the South Asian regulatory framework, the future of work in ensuring that. So I will conclude my topic. Gig work is not the future; it is the present. But if left unregulated, it may be create a system of digital exploitations instead digital empowerment. Algorithms should not replace justice. A right-based AI regulatory framework is essential to ensure that technology serve humanity, not the other way. Not the other way to.
Participants come to the conclusion.
Okay, sir. In this digital economy, digital of a labor must remain not negotiable, sir. Thank you, sir. Hello.
Yeah, thank you. We don't have any question for you.
Okay, thank you so much, sir.
Thank you for your presentation. And now moving on to the next presenter, Antika Sirohi.
Am I audible and visible?
Yes,
Yes, you can
Am I
start.
audible? Thank you, sir. Good evening to the chair. So, myself, Avantika, and my topic is AI ethics and Article 14. I just want to ask a simple question to you all that can machines create mistakes ever? And the first pop up in your mind is no, never, they can't. But I'm going to change your opinion till my last slide. Let me begin my presentation. So, AI ethics and Article 14. AI is a software. It generally mimics the human behavior, and it's a creation of human intelligence. And if we connect it with ethics, then AI ethics, it represents the moral values that AI should be transparent, it should be fair, and it should manage the safety, accountability. And Article 14, it says that everyone should be equal and no one should be treated alike. Everything has two facets, and similarly AI do also have. AI has pros and cons. My topic is regarding a con of AI. So it's true that AI to some extent is biased, and the bias made by AI is generally indirectly. Algorithms can be biased. Algorithms are generally the data which the computers learn by program data, by machine learning programs. So, algorithms are generally made by humans, and AI sticks to what it knows. A bitter pill to swallow, but AI is also somewhat creating biasness indirectly and is unfavorable to various sections of the society. Biasness violates Article 14. It's true that biasness violates Article 14 if we see generally in India. There are already various types of discrimination, the gender discrimination, facial, racial discriminations, etc. And these discrimination, it's not a new concept. It's embedded in the roots and it's coming since ages. Some real world examples, like I have personally examined chat gpt once. Like I gave a prompt to it and said, just provide me a picture of the lawyers, and it gave me a picture which were all, and the all images of the lawyers were the male figures. So it itself is a gender discrimination. And as my slide also says, Amazon recruitment, which just introduced its applications, and all the female applications were rejected. Bias detection strategies. Bias, see, there should be various strategies to detect the biasness, and it's the main aim of my research. How can we curb these detection? How can we curb the biasness? So there are two approaches, innovative and the institutional approach. And to cut the roots of biasness, detection strategies are required. Various countries have just made their certain laws, and like European Union has introduced a high risk policy. India, the Niti Aayog has introduced AI for all, and various initiatives have been taken to curb these statutory gaps. Now, what's the importance for addressing AI? As for addressing AI biasness, biasness is a byproduct, and it's deep rooted in humans' ethics, because and it when they start to affect or harm society, a biasness become biasness when they creates problem to the marginalized groups, the unfavorable society, the sections of the society. So, again, a question, can machine think like humans do? So, the answer is no. Machines can never think like humans do, because humans have emotions, they have feelings, and and a human have a regret and a guilt in itself, and a human can be punished for its actions. But can machine be ever punished for so? No. So, I would like to just conclude my presentation by saying that artificial intelligence learns from us. So humans must provide the algorithms in such a fair way that they should not be discriminated to any sections of the society. We know that discrimination is embedded in our society since ages. We are carrying it as an ancestral property, but we must we must focus on this, and we must build a fair world by providing the fair algorithms. Thank you.
Okay, so participant, what is your primary solutions of coming up with this artificial intelligence gender biased?
So on behalf of government, if I tell you, so they can introduce a specific measure like DPDP Act, which was introduced by that Puttaswamy case in 2017. But that's not that's not an overall solution to AI biasness, because it's not a specific provision to it. So according to me, the government should make a specific act dealing with this, because discrimination is not a new concept. It's been since ages, and we can't just cut its root immediately. We can't do. Gradually things can be done. So if we make certain provisions, like if we start punishing the humans who are practicing the discrimination.
The biggest issue with your research is like, what are the sources you have cited that AI is having bias, specifically gender bias? So have you cited any of the recent published report?
No, sir, I have not cited any recent report regarding this.
Because in order to come up with a claim, you have to first come up with the establishing your issue, that there is a issue. So just blindly telling that I give a prompt for putting a pictures of a lawyer and all the pictures are of male, it doesn't give any claim that a AI is completely biased. You have to come up with certain like report or anything, like any authoritative source which is having this established fact, or a survey which is having established fact. So you have to come up before coming up with major issue, then only we can go for the claims. You're getting me?
Yes, sir, I'm getting you.
Yeah, so
So,
try
but
to yeah.
if we see the Niti Aayog page for that AI initiative, so the things are mentioned, like AI biasness is mentioned there.
AI biasness is mentioned, but you are talking about the AI gender biases. It's very different, two different things. Like AI biases are like selective alternative responses by an artificial intelligence, that they are giving a very selective response. But that selective response doesn't mean that it always gives a gender bias selective response. Your area of research is a gender bias and a gender thing. So like I will like it's a very good topic, but again, good topic needs good effort. So you have to research a lot for that and come up with a very modified or like very refined version with your revised manuscript. So we'd be
Okay.
looking forward to it.
Thank
Yes.
you, sir.
Thank you. Yes, host, we can move ahead with the next participant. Okay, I believe there is some technical issue host is facing. So like Chaitali Jain will be taking you next.
Yes, sir. Can I start, sir? Can I start, sir?
Yes, start.
Okay. Good evening, respected judges and esteemed participants. Today's topic for presentation is artificial intelligence, privacy, and surveillance, a constitutional analysis in the Indian context. So, let me begin with a simple but very critical question. What happens when the state not only watches us, monitors us, or but even starts predicting our behavior? This question lies at the heart of my paper, which examines the constitutional implications of artificial intelligence driven surveillance in India. Because these days, the surveillance is not only for a specific purpose, it is a large scale surveillance happening everywhere. So, artificial intelligence is transforming how the state exercises power. Technologies such as facial recognition systems, predictive policing, biometric databases, and AI enabled CCTV networks are rapidly expanding. We are now witnessing a shift from targeted surveillance to continuous population wide monitoring. This transformation is not merely technological, it is rather constitutional because surveillance defines I'm not able to change because surveillance defines the why I said that the transformation is not merely technological, it is constitutional. It is constitutional because surveillance defines the relationship between the state and the individual. The Indian Constitution, as we know, through the landmark Justice K.S. Puttaswamy versus Union of India judgment, recognizes privacy as a fundamental right under Article 21, requiring three major principles to be followed, that is, legality, necessity, and proportionality. However, AI driven surveillance challenges these safeguards in three ways. If we see it, first, the scale. AI enables mass data collection, eliminating anonymity. It does not it does not get the data only from the targeted audience, but it is collecting data from the large population without discriminating whether their data is required or not. Second, for example, smart city CCTV networks allow continuous tracking across entire areas. Secondly, opacity. These systems function as black boxes. People whose data are collected, they don't even know why are their data is collected, when is their data collected, and for what purpose it is going to be used. A person flagged as um, suspicious often cannot know or challenge the reason. Third is prediction. AI anticipates behavior rather than merely observing it. For example, predictive policing increases surveillance in areas flagged as high risk even without present wrongdoing. So, together, this shifts surveillance into a form of behavioral control. This creates serious constitutional concerns, such as legality, because the laws which we have in India, they are meant for the human decision maker, but these days the decisions are not being made by the humans, but they are made by the machines, AI, and that is why the data, the laws which we are having are not enough. So this creates serious constitutional concerns, lack of legality, disproportionate intrusion, risk to equality, and weak accountability. A simple example of algorithmic bias helps explain this. If police data records only males not wearing helmets while driving two-wheelers, an AI system may wrongly assume females always comply, leading to unequal enforcement. The issue is not reality, but biased data. And this had happened earlier. I have source data and survey where the people in Europe had gone for bail. The judges were giving bail considering that the black people are the offenders, and they were not giving easy bails to these people. So these kind of biases do exist. Similarly, predictive policing may repeatedly target already over policed communities, creating a cycle of discrimination. This gives rise to serious constitutional concerns. Um, there is a problem of legality, as Indian lacks a specific law governing AI. There is a problem of legality, as Indian lacks a specific law governing AI surveillance. There is a problem of proportionality, as mass surveillance affects individuals who are not under suspicion. There is a problem of equality, as algorithmic systems can reproduce and amplify existing biases. And finally, there is a problem of accountability, as opaque systems undermine procedural fairness and due process. The current legal framework remains inadequate. Laws like
Participant, kindly come to the conclusion.
so can I discuss about the policy measures?
Yes, from policy measures, come to the conclusion.
Okay, so I just a minute. So as a here in my paper, I have discussed about the algorithmic constitutionalism, and I'm suggesting enact a comprehensive AI surveillance law, ensuring compliance with the principles laid down in Puttaswamy judgment, that is legality, necessity, and proportionality. Secondly, establish an independent regulatory authority to oversee, monitor, and control the use of AI by state agencies. Thirdly, mandate algorithmic transparency, explainability, and regular bias audits to prevent discrimination. And fourthly, require prior judicial approval and human oversight for deployment of high risk technologies. So, these are some of the suggestions which I had given. To conclude, AI driven surveillance is one of the most significant constitutional challenges of our time. India stands at a critical juncture. The question is not whether we will use artificial intelligence, but whether we will control it or we will be controlled by AI. So, and in constitutional democracy, the answer must be very clear. Technology must always remain subject to the constitution and governance. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Jain. Like, I don't have any question for you. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you for the presentation. And now moving on to the next presenter, Dr. Kaushiki Brahma.
Is my screen visible?
Yes, Kaushiki, your screen is visible.
Yes. So, good evening, Chair. So, I'm Kaushiki Brahma. So, my topic is AI integration into Indian boards to strengthen the corporate governance in India. So, here I have the research gap that has been identified by me is there have been hardly any laws pertaining to AI regulation pertaining to corporate governance in India. So the scope of my study is limited to uses of AI by the directors in Indian companies. So as we know, the board of director is considered to be the skeleton of the corporate governance, and board is burdened with many complexity of data overload. Like they have to, at least as per Companies Act, they have to meet for 4 times a year, and within that particular time frame they have to examine complex data. As I stated, AI in corporate governance can help and reduce their information asymmetry, and it can also enhance decision making. So decision making can be enhanced in a way like they cannot seek the total help of AI. They can rely on AIs by specifying particular commands, like examining the annual reports of the company, or examining the financial statements of the company. So next, it also reduces information symmetry, because it will help all the board members to be aware of the pertaining information that will help them to be acquainted with the information to take decision in the board meetings. Then, pertaining to real-time dashboards, so at any point of time, a company can it might be required for the company to conduct board meetings, and within a particular time framework, they may not be able to examine all the relevant reports. So they can run those reports and get the particular details of the report to be put forth in the resolutions. Then here I have stated there can be a shift towards predictive governance, like AI can be utilized for in a way to enhance the corporate governance in the Indian companies. So the Indian regulatory framework does not specify about AI integration, except SEBI has come up with the regulation AI and machine learning framework that is only limited to the working of the securities market. So how the algorithm can be used catering to the securities market, SEBI has come up with the regulation in the year 2023. So moving on towards the corporate governance and agency problem, as I stated earlier, so by usage of AI by the board in the companies, they can cater to solving many problems. So one of the major problem is corporate governance and agency problem. So, before moving to the other part of my research, so agency problem originates from the theoretical aspect of Burley and Means, which states that the owners of the company, which comprises of the promoters of the company in India, and there are also minority shareholders in the company. So the agency problem arises as the directors of the company, they are also part of the promoters, and they are well aware what all decisions they take in and around the company. So it reduces transparency, and it also leads to bad corporate governance. But how, so I have specified in different roles how AI can be utilized by the board of directors in the company to enhance better corporate governance, specifically in India. So, in different roles, as stated, AI can be used as an assistant by handling reports, notes, scheduling, and monitoring. Implementation can also be there. AI can also be used as an advisor, but not as the sole advisor or as an autonomous director of the company. They can seek advice pertaining to whether a particular transaction that might be beneficial for the company or not, or whether the company should go ahead with a particular merger or an acquisition transaction or not. So it can even the AI can also be fitted with some particular precedents that the directors or the companies might be using for analyzing the business structure of the company. And the third role is considered to be AI as an actor. So I'm totally against it, but few of the jurisdiction like China, they have recognized AI as a director of the company. So as in India, it's mandatory that the director of a company has to be an individual and must be a resident in India. So this particular alternative role as an director won't be applicable to Indian scenario. So, in furtherance to enhance the role of board of directors in Indian scenario, as we know, we have there have been many legislation provisions pertaining to the Companies Act, which is being
Participant, kindly come to the conclusion. You had
yes.
exceeded the time.
Yes, sorry. So here, pertaining to the role of the board of directors, there are two different theories that have specified. One is the autonomous director, where the director will rely upon the information and will meticulously evaluate the information to use it for the company. And the other is where the AI is considered to be a director itself, which I am totally against it by specifying the argument, because in case of when the AI is considered to be one of the director of the company, then the liability will be imposed upon whom. So here I've stated four different mechanism how AI can be introduced in assessing the risk in audit processes, autonomous AI in the boardroom where it cross verify filings and maintaining compliance which are required under different laws, and AI in ESG compliance. So moving on to the challenges, the most important challenges pertaining to the liability, whether the director should be held liable or the AI developers should be held liable. So moving on to the conclusion, I've stated that when the director is using AI and not replacing the director as itself, and with respect to director, I've specified the directors, if they are using any sort of biasness, they can be held liable. If not, then the AI developers can be held liable. Thank you.
Okay, Dr. Kaushiki, like one of the major challenge with the corporate governance is liability shifting. So, like even for the human directors or even for the humans who are running the administration of a company, it is always whenever a issue arises, we see liability is lies upon whom. For any of the order or any of the it can be any administrative action. So if as you already stated that there are multiple roles AI can be allotted, so the assessment of the liability is right now, I don't think it's so much of stringent or it's so much of transparent to looked into, because here the number of stakeholders are involved. For there are a number of websites or the softwares which currently are being employed to come up with the number of tasks of a director. But again, when the director uses those artificial intelligence and at the end the director comes into trouble, the law will not look whether the director has used AI or something. It is the director who had employed. Definitely law will take its own course against the director. So now my question to you, what would be the appropriate solutions for those kind of issues in the corporate governance? Like how the
Yes.
government or how the authorities will determine?
Yes, so the black box issue that has been originated pertaining to the liability part. So here, many researchers they have contrasting opinions stating that if the company or the board of director is putting some kind of bias command for extracting any particular set of information favoring the director, in those circumstances, directors can be held liable. Whereas if the AI developer has developed it and it has been given to the company, and company has not used any sort of commands or any sort of prompts to come up with any kind of biased decisions, so in that particular time point of time, the AI developer should be held liable.
Okay, but again, this is also not a fixed and concrete proofs, as you already know that artificial intelligence are those intelligence which keeps on modifying by itself. There is no human
Yes.
involvement. So
Yes.
again, the gray area is what if a AI without even prompt is doing such acts which even the developer or the employer of the AI doesn't know. So who is responsible? So
Sir,
with this, yes.
yes, I would obviously work on the suggestion.
Yes, like looked into the suggestions. Thank you. Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you for your presentation. And now moving on to the next presenter, Ishita Sethi.
Hi, yes, am I audible?
Yes, Ishita, you're audible, but you're not visible.
Oh, all right, am
Yes,
I
you are.
visible? All
Yes, you are.
right,
All the best.
thank you. All right, good evening to the chair and esteemed participants. The topic of my presentation today is AI enabled renewable energy investment decisions in South Asia. So let's get into it. All right, so to give a brief introduction, as governments are currently working to achieve sustainable economic development, the world is moving more and more towards renewable energy. And South Asia, with almost a quarter of the world's population, is facing difficult energy problems due to population growth, urbanization, and many other issues. One promising solution to these problems is to use artificial intelligence models in forecasting compared to the traditional regression models that are currently or previously being used. So, so, for my research hypothesis, the null hypothesis that I aim to disprove is that AI based predictive models do not produce lower forecasting error than the traditional models. And the alternative hypothesis is that the AI based models do produce lower forecasting error than the traditional models. And the context I've taken is in renewable energy planning for sustainable development. The variables I have analyzed, I've taken two cases for the same. In case one, for India hydropower generation forecasting, the dependent variable to be forecasted is hydropower generated in terms of gigawatt hours, and the independent variables are GDP increase and urbanization. The second case is the Sri Lankan share of wind energy forecasting. Dependent variable has been taken as the share of wind energy in percentage form, and the independent variable, I've taken one independent variable, transmission and distribution loss. So for the purpose of my study, I have compared two models. For the traditional forecasting model, I have used linear regression, and for the AI forecasting model, I have used support vector model since it can handle small data sets effectively without overfitting. And the procedure, I collected data for 2000 to 2018 as the training period to forecast the value of the dependent variable for 2019 to 2022. All right. And in case one, the analysis I got was as follows. The I forecast the I had the actual data, and here is the data forecast by traditional models and the data forecast by the support vector regression model. And I did the same in the second case as well. All right, so what are the overall findings? In case one, using the AI based model, the SVR model, there was a lower mean model, there was a lower mean absolute error compared to the traditional regression model. So the AI based model offered marginally better overall accuracy, except for one difference for the year 2019. The same finding was in case 2 as well, where the SVR model greatly outperformed the traditional regression model. The limitations of the research is that I used limited independent variables, which could have led to omitted variable bias. And in the parameter used was mean absolute error, which is a good criteria, but other criteria could also be used, such as root mean square error or mean absolute percentage error for more comprehensive results. Coming to the overall conclusions and policy implications. So I was able to reject the null hypothesis that AI-based models do not achieve lower forecasting error than traditional models, and have accepted the alternative hypothesis that AI-based predictive models offer more accurate forecasts than renewable energy planning. So, what are the policy implications following the overall conclusion? The first implication is that these models can empower policymakers and the investors to make more informed decisions. AI models, such as I used SVR model, can lessen the informational asymmetry, leading to enhanced risk modeling, scenario analysis, and various other types of analysis. So ultimately, on a wider scale, we can conclude that the integration of AI in renewable energy investment frameworks can overcome various challenges posed by the traditional regression models. And this is something various policymakers can look into, leading to overall sustainable development in the South Asian region. Thank you. With that, I would like to conclude my presentation.
Okay, participant, thank you for your presentation. I don't have any question for you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation. And now moving on to the next presenter, Sri Surya N.
So, hi, good evening, everyone. My research paper is titled as AI-driven innovations and patent law in India, rethinking the Section 3 Clause K beyond the computer program per se. So, first of all, we'll have to imagine like a machine that is creating an invention on its own without even any human involvement. So now the question here raises is that can that machine just a theoretical question? It has been a real legal issue, and even now it has been highlighted globally by the Davis controversies also. So today I'll be speaking. Sorry. So the paper, my paper has been research paper has been structured into different analysis. First of all, the statutory analysis about what exactly is Section 3K and what it actually means and how it is interpreted, and talking about the non-patentable inventions such as mathematical computer program per se, and that its legislative history, purposive interpretation, and also coming to the how does Indian Patent Office apply Section 3 Clause K to the AI claims in practice, and compared this into the three jurisdictions, that is US, European, and China, from their recent guidelines and all, and what India can learn from them, and coming to the inventorship that has been the recent issue also, and coming to the structure technical effect standard for India, plus the guidelines and policy reforms and legislative reforms if needed. Okay, so we know that artificial intelligence or AI refers to a system that can learn, analyze data, or make decisions. Like it can be modified. It can modify on its own, even without a prompt, or with the prompt that has been given. So unlike the traditional software, AI is dynamic. It improves over time and can learn or even generate the new solutions. And in India, AI is being finance, transportation, and the sole coming to the Section 3K of the Patent Act. Patents are banned on mathematical methods, business methods, computer program. Patent was drafted in 2002, which was even before the modern AI existed. And now it has been even now that 1970 law is governing the current 2025-26 technology. Right. Is advancing rapidly, the law is not evolving at the same pace, and one of the key legal barriers in Indian law, according to
Participants,
the ideas. And
voice is
in
lagging.
Sorry,
Your voice is lagging. Yeah, you can continue.
So can I continue?
Yeah, continue.
Hello, am I on?
Yes, continue.
Thank you. So the original purpose of this provision was to prevent the monopolists over the abstract ideas and ensure that the basic knowledge remains freely accessible. Right. So today, this provision creates a serious problem. And AI systems are largely based on the algorithms. So if we strictly apply Section 3 Clause K, many AI-based inventions may be rejected. That is obvious. And even if they provide the real technical benefits. For example, if an AI system that improves the medical diagnosis or say reduces the traffic congestion, clearly it produces a technical effect, right? So, but if it is treated merely as a computer program per se, and this creates a gap between the law and the technological reality. So that is my research paper has tried to convey that even in Indian courts have tried to address this issue. Coming to the case of versus Union of India, there also the court held that inventions showing a technical effect or technical contributions can be patentable even if it based on the software, right? But it should show a technical effect or technical contribution, and this was an important step because it shifted the focus of what the invention is to what the invention not. There is no clear statutory reform, and there is ambiguity that continues even now. And my next
Participant, come to the conclusion.
yes, sure. So I've claimed that the claims that may misintegrate abstract idea to practical applications, not mere just a computer tool. And I've compared with the European Patent Office guidelines and to the 2021 means used to solve a technical problem, achieving a technical effect, which the 50% of the global AI patent families have now filed in China. And India also should adopt an APO-inspired technical character framework adapted for its own statutory language. Then coming to the inventorship problem, that is, if an AI generative use of AI, there arises a question: who is the owner of the AI content? And also, if there is a criminal activities that has been done with the help of the AI, who is liable? So that are all the issues or controversies that is being happening around us, and that is still debated, which is not which does not have enough which is still an issue. So no IPO guidance or patent that requires a natural person as an author. So obviously AI generated content, that AI cannot be held as a author because it requires a natural person, and no case has tested for AI inventorship also. And this has also been held in my paper, and I have suggested certain reform framework that is a specific technical problem, like is the claim directed solving an identified technical problem in a defined engineering or scientific domain, not a mathematical cognitive business problem. And also, does the claim locate the invention a specific technical application domain like medical imaging or industrial control? And also, does the AI component make a contribution to the technical solutions beyond generate computation would achieve? Also, a recommendation that I have given is that focus on the technical, like reinterpret the section K of the patent act, not abolish it, but we can reform or reinterpret it in such a way that focusing on the technical effect, not just on the computer program per se. The two words has been a limitation. Computer program per se has been where we get stuck on. And we have to reduce the confusion and ensure the consistency, adopt the substance over the form approach. About other than what the invention say, we should focus on what the invention does. We should focus on the technical effect of that and check what the invention does, not how it is framed. And also clarify the inventorship rule, in AI assisted inventions, train the patent examiners in AI, improve the quality of patent examination, encourage the AI innovations, and support the startups and researchers via Niti Aayog and all. And we can, by this, we have to always balance the innovations always with the interest of the public. Okay, so this is my policy recommendation, and we can say that as a conclusion, I can say that
Conclude, you had exceeded the
it
time.
does not require India to reject all the AI patents. Yes, sir. Per se qualifier. So 2017 CRI guidelines already contain the seed of technical effects standard. The problem is its inconsistent application. So India lags the US, EU, China in AI patent clarity with the direct competitive consequences for its innovation. So we have to look more into it and suggested certain reforms for it to follow that. And that is all about my presentation. Thank you.
Okay, participant, I have two suggestions for you. You have to incorporate the latest AI artificial intelligence report by the Niti Aayog, along
Yes, sir.
with OECD has some of the reports, like even you can look into the Hiroshima 2.0
Hello.
protocol. Yes, you can also include Hiroshima 2.0 protocol. So these are the things you can incorporate in your study.
Yes, sir. Yes, I've included in that.
All right, yeah.
I may not have presented it, but I've included in the paper, sir.
Okay, thank you. We can move ahead with the next participant.
Thank you for your presentation. And now to the next presenter, Sri Lakshmi C.
Yes,
Sri Lakshmi, you're not visible. Yes, you are. All the best for your presentation.
thank you. Good evening. Today I will be presenting my paper on cross-border data flows and digital sovereignty, the legal challenges in global data governance. In today's digital economy, data has become one of the most valuable resources. Cross-border data flows enable global trade, technological innovation, and digital services, etc. However, at the same time, governments are increasingly trying to control the data through the concept of digital sovereignty. This creates an important tension between free flow of data and state control. While defining what is cross-border data flows, it can be referred that the movement of data across the boundaries of different nations. These flows are essential for services such as e-commerce, cloud computing, and digital platforms, etc. And they support global trade and allow businesses to operate efficiently across the countries. While understanding how it affects digital sovereignty, we can define the digital sovereignty as the control of data by the state. It is the ability of a state to control data within its territory, and governments aim to protect privacy, ensure national security, and strengthen their domestic digital economy. As a result, states are increasingly trying to control the flow of the data. And while understanding what are the major legal frameworks that existing in a global level, the first and foremost among them is the European Union's strict data protection law under GDPR, and it is considered as a key legal framework which governs the governance of the data. And the second is United States, and it follows a more flexible and sector-based approach. In United States, each state have their own method to control the data. Different states have different mechanisms to control the digital governance. And while coming to India, we have Digital Personal Data Protection Act DPDPA 2023, which is a recent framework. In DPDPA, we can see that different approaches and different mechanisms to control the data, such as the consent of the data principal is necessary to transmit data when it comes to personal information, etc. And these different approaches create complexity in data governance in a global level. While understanding what are the key challenges, there are several challenges in regulating cross-border data flows, and these include data localization requirements, privacy concerns, national security risk, and jurisdictional conflicts. And another major issue is fragmentation of the internet, also known as splinternet. And how we can overcome these challenges, or what are the global implications. We can see that to address these challenges, there is a need for international cooperations. Countries should work towards harmonized data protection laws and balanced regulations to protect privacy and by enabling innovation. To conclude, cross-border data flows are essential for the digital economy, while digital sovereignty is also important for protecting national interests. The key challenge is to balance both through the effective global governance system and cooperation. That's the end of my presentation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, participant. I don't have any questions for you.
Thank you for your presentation. And now the next presenter would be Shivjani.
Your PDF. I have joined from my mobile because I don't currently have access to my laptop.
Okay, you can
Is
come
it
up with
okay if
your
I present without
presentation.
my PowerPoint
You
presentation
can
and
come
just
up with your
orally do it?
presentation, but immediately after your presentation, you have to mail your PPT so
Okay,
that
for
we
sure,
can
for sure.
Okay, yeah, you can go ahead.
Yes. Shall I begin? Thank you. So, my presentation is about deepfakes and digital identity theft in
But
India.
you are not visible.
Unfortunately, my camera is turning off once I exit the app. That's why. Because I'm not in India currently and I don't have my phone right now with my laptop right now with me.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. Actually, I have a moot court round next, and that's why I'm very sorry for this. So, my presentation is about deepfakes and digital identity theft in India, and it provides a comprehensive legal and policy framework that lets us go towards this particular era where deepfakes and digital identity are regulated and the digital identity of a person is protected. Today, AI generated synthetic media is capable of replicating human likeness, voice, behavior, and everything with remarkable accuracy. Enabled with advanced machine learning techniques like generative adversarial networks. In India's digital context, there are three major things that are involved today here, which is firstly that there is a rapid expansion, and through increased smartphone penetration, there is a higher proliferation of deepfakes. Secondly, there is a higher emergence of social media ecosystems today. There are high velocity platforms which enable instant content dissemination to vast audiences. And thirdly, there is a verification gap because there are absence of robust content authentication mechanisms. There is a problem with respect to the regulation currently. The constitutional implications for this are that three major things are affected with this. Firstly, privacy under Article 21 is affected significantly because unauthorized manipulation of likeness and voice constitutes a direct intrusion into informational privacy and personal autonomy. Secondly, the right to dignity is affected significantly as well. The creation of humiliating, degrading content that affects the self worth and dignity of persons, particularly the non consensual, explicit content, is a major problem. Thirdly, reputational rights are also affected here. The fabrication of statements and actions falsely attributed to individuals undermine personal liberty of the people. In the current legal framework, what exists today are four laws. Firstly, the Information Technology Act of 2000, which contains provisions such as Section 66C and Section 66E, which address data centric offenses, but they fail to capture the representational harms from AI manipulation. The Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita 2023. It does cover defamation and impersonation provisions, but they remain offense based and they lack a technological specificity for synthetic media. Thirdly, we have the IT Rules 2021. Here, due diligence obligations focus mainly on post publication removal rather than preemptive regulation of content creation. And fourthly, we have the Data Protection Act 2023. The personal data protection frameworks address processing but not identity manipulation through synthetic media. The current regulatory challenges are also fourfold. Firstly, there is a great deal of technological complexity around this. And because these detection mechanisms lack innovation, pace, and it creates an asymmetry between generation and identification capacity. Secondly, speed and scale. Algorithmic prioritization of engagement enables rapid viral speed, causing irreversible harm before detection. This irreversibility of harm is a major problem for us. Thirdly, there is a jurisdictional complexity because this is a cross-border crime. There is no centralized regulatory framework that exists on a global level. And thirdly, there is a great deal of anonymity with this. And therefore, there could be a problem with respect to the harming or hampering of privacy of individuals. And fourthly, there could be an expression balance as well, because regulation must distinguish between malicious and legitimate uses without stifling innovation and legitimate use which could be done with respect to this. Certain international approaches have also been taken with respect to deepfakes. For European Union, there is the AI Act, which is Regulation 2024 1689, which has four major things. Firstly, it has a risk-based categorization of AI systems. Secondly, it has transparency requirements for high-risk systems. Thirdly, it has disclosure obligations for AI-generated content. And fourthly, it has preventive regulation through prior compliance. In the United States as well, there are different state level legislations. California and Texas laws target malicious use per se. They focus on elections and non-consensual content. They have context-specific enforcement mechanisms and regulatory fragmentation across jurisdictions. The policy recommendations that I would like to put forth in respect of this is that there must be firstly a dedicated legislation that governs deepfakes in India, because this is a major problem as highlighted above. Secondly, there must be a mandatory watermarking, that any content that is created through deepfakes has a mandatory state legislated watermark that ensures that any content like this is not perceived to be true by the people. Thirdly, platform accountability. Any platform that is creating deepfakes today must have a degree of accountability so that the proliferation of deepfakes does not happen in a way that hampers the privacy and digital autonomy of a person. Fourthly, there must be criminal and penal provisions that must be entered for the creation and proliferation of deepfakes without the consent of an individual. Fifthly, there must be a greater degree of digital literacy and public awareness campaigns from the government to ensure that people are not affected by deepfakes in a way that would hamper their identity. And lastly, for the implementation framework, there need to be a dedicated legal framework. Then there have to be technological safeguards. There need to be certain statutory
Participant, come to the
or
conclusion.
state-based. Yes. I'm assuming you have a question. Hello.
Come to the conclusion. Are you concluded?
Just getting to my conclusion.
Yes.
Yes. So the conclusion is that there needs to be a robust legal framework. There must be technological safeguards. An institutional capacity must be built to tackle deepfakes, and there must be a higher degree of public awareness, because this is against the narrative that is set by the Constitution as per the K.S. Puttaswamy judgment in 2021 that protects the privacy of individuals. And this is constitutionally recognized, and therefore there must be a law that must be created in furtherance of safeguarding the digital privacy of individuals here, as the DPDP Act 2023 is insufficient to address this. Thank you.
Okay. So participant, what are the country policy models you have taken into like place for your research? Is there any country working under deep fake policies right now?
Sir, there are two countries that have currently primarily been working on deepfakes right now. Firstly, the European Union. They have a risk-based identification mechanism wherein they have compulsory watermarking for deepfakes currently, which means that any deepfake that is created through any platform has to mandatorily have a watermark that it is a deepfake content. Similar laws also exist in different states of the United States, including California and Texas, where there is a watermarking system available as well, and there is also a great deal of platform level accountability that has been
See,
adopted.
watermarking system is different. Watermarking system cannot give you protection. It will just give you a relief that the video which is circulated or your video which is circulated, it's not a real video, it's a fake video. But it will not reduce the fake thing. So here, like I'll just give you a glance where your research should project. Specifically in India AI Impact Summit, where I was as a panelist, I went and we had number of technical sessions with respect to data protection and the data privacy. For the first and foremost discussions has to become in a way that like as you mentioned that watermarking is well and good just to come up with the notion that the video is real or video is fake. So that's one way watermarking is doing. But we have to figure out a criminal, like a person who is doing the deepfake, how we will identify it. So along with watermarking, there should be a traceability of IP data in those sensitive cases where the deepfake videos are being generated, there should be compulsory KYC of those platforms which gives the permission of generating the deepfake videos. So these are the permanent solutions which can be done in order to like come up with the appropriate order of the deepfake or this kind of crimes. So I will definitely ask you to look into those kind of aspects, preventive mechanism as well as the penal mechanism of how we can tackle with the deepfakes.
All right. Thank you very much, sir. I would definitely take that feedback into account.
Okay, yeah.
Thank you, sir. It was a pleasure interacting with you, and I would definitely love to connect further with you. Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation. And now moving on to the next presenter, Huda Ashifa Kesi.
Ma'am, am I audible?
Yes, Huda, you are audible. You can proceed with your presentation. All the best.
Okay. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Today I'll be discussing accountability in autonomous lethal weapon system. And with the rise of artificial intelligence and warfare, decisions that once took humans time to evaluate are now made in milliseconds. This creates a serious problem that who is responsible when something has gone wrong. So yeah, this presentation examines constitutional, regulatory, and liability responses to ensure meaningful legal responsibility and remedy for civilians harm. So yeah. One of the big issue with autonomous weapon is the accountability gap. Like unlike the traditional warfare, responsibility is no longer clear. Like who is the programmer, the manufacturer, like whether the manufacturer will be liable, whether the programmer or the military commander or the state. Each plays only a partial role, which make it difficult to assign liability. Autonomy. Sorry. This proposed response is a multi-layered accountability model assigning clear responsibility across development, deployment, and post-incident review to prevent impunity and ensure remedial justice. So deployment, the constitutional rights, when we're dealing with the constitutional right, the deployment must meet constitutional standards of fairness, reasonableness, and proportionality as mentioned in Maneka Gandhi versus Union of India. Most importantly, it must protect the right of life and dignity. And allowing only the executive to authorize this system is not sufficient. Like there must be parliamentary involvement too, like procedure safeguards and meaningful human oversight should be there. Like it will be pure arbitrary when there is no human operator behind all that, because the state, the manufacturer will be like they'll be raising hands, like they'll be saying that we are not the we'll not take the liability, will not take the responsibility. Yeah, executive. Sorry, and when talking about the state liability, states deploying autonomous lethal systems bear constitutional responsibility when civilians are harmed. Um, the state plays a central role in deploying the system. So it must be clear about the responsibility bearing, and when civilians are harmed, if proper safeguards are not followed, it becomes a violation of constitutional duties. The state an obligation for compensation and also a duty to prevent future harm. So the state liability is not just reactive; it is also proactive in protecting a life. Um, so when we go into the topic two, the regulatory framework, there is a multi-layered framework is required. The legislative standards, independent oversight, and mandatory testing protocols. To address these issues, we need a multi-layered regulatory framework, like clear legislation, independent oversight, and mandatory testing protocols should be there. And some key elements would be like defining levels of human controls, maintaining transparent decision logs, and conducting a rapid post-incident review. And this ensures accountability across the entire AI system life cycle. And the legislative requirement. Deployment must be grounded in parliamentary law, defining permissible autonomy, required human oversight, and right protections. Legislation should set minimum standards, requires proportionality assessment, and mandate clear strike authority to satisfy constitutional and procedural safeguards. Like establish and we need to establish an independent statutory body to certify systems, audit testing, and enforce recall or usage limits. Like oversight must require robust civilian distinction testing, operational transparency, and enforceable remedies to prevent diffusion of responsibility and ensure remedial justice. Like as a conclusion, a rights-centered approach demands that autonomy never displace human accountability. Adopt legislative authorization, independent regulation, and absolute liability principles to close the accountability gap and ensure the victims receive effective remedies and state compliances. That's all.
Okay, thank you, participant. I don't have any question for you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for your presentation. And now moving on to the next presenter, Anjali Jha. Anjali, you're not
Hello.
visible.
Hello.
Yes, Anjali.
Am I audible?
Yes, Anjali, you're audible, but you're not visible.
Just a second. Just a second.
Is there any technical issue?
Hello. Hello.
Okay. Yes,
Yes,
you can
Anjali. Yeah.
present.
All the best.
Okay. Thank you so much, ma'am. Good evening, everyone. And the topic for my presentation is resilience building through regulations and AI tools, targeting digital arrest and cyber warfare. So, starting with the introduction. Firstly, starting with what is digital arrest. Digital arrests are mainly the scams which constitute a sophisticated form of psychological operations within the domain of cyber warfare, operating through like they are representing themselves as the law enforcement authorities, and they ask you that to deliver some amount of money to them as you are arrested due to some reasons, like it might be for the money laundering case or etc, which is just a fraud and hypothetical. And in India we are having laws, but more than the laws we are having most there are also some flaws, and the laws are not implemented properly, which we will see in our presentation. The Supreme Court of India has repeatedly underscored the gravity of this threat, observing that even educated and experienced citizens have succumbed to these deceptions, resulting in losses aggregating to rupees 54,000 crore in 2025 to 2026. Now, how digital arrest affects the people. Firstly, the initiation of digital arrest is through video calls, SMS resembling as high government officials. The second step is that the presentation of forged FIRs or arrest warrants and threats. And thirdly, they conclude the video calls like conclusion of crimes by creating psychological pressures and money transfer. And now I have mentioned the case study. There are two case study. First case study is about the Russian national arrested in India for the digital scam, and his name was Anatoly Mankrov, and he was arrested in Ahmedabad for his presence in the cyber digital arrest case. And the second case is of UP model Shivankita Dikshit, and she lost over 1 lakh rupees for the digital arrest. And as the people are not aware, and these are mainly the high profile cases for which mainly the people are targeted. Now, moving to the existing legal frameworks in India and their limitations. The first law in India is that Information Technology Act 2000, And under this act, under section 66C and under section 66D, there is punishment for identity theft. Similarly, in Bharatiya Nyaya Samhita 2023, there are laws for impersonation, and most important, Digital Personal Data Protection Act 2023, which is enacted but it has not been enforced yet. And now coming to the I4C, which is Indian Cyber Crime Coordination Center, and it has opened a site and a portal that name is National Cyber Crime Reporting Portal, and it is using various AI for its use. Now coming to the comparative insights, that is global regulatory approaches. Now EU is having Am I audible?
Yes, you are
Then
audible. You can
secondly,
continue.
okay, sorry, there was some technical glitch. And secondly, we are having United Nations, that is CIS's joint cyber defense collaboration. uh, Under this, the main motto is to maintain the transparency and to ensure that how to detect these digital scams. Then Singapore is also having Singapore penal code, that is section 417, digital arrest is a crime. And then I discussed earlier that India is also having laws like Indian Technology Act, then DPDPA, which is not enforced yet. Now coming to the roles of AI tools in detection, prevention, and reliance building. Now, how AI can be used in detection, prevention, and reliance building? It can help in fraud detections, detection of spam calls, like from where the spam calls are coming and who are the owners of the numbers. Then scam alerts to the targeted persons, and the detection of the cloned voice, like it can detect that which voice is authentic and which are cloned voice. Like when there is this crimes of digital arrest, they mainly resemble themselves as the high level officials to target the people. Now next, moving to the conclusion and policy recommendation. Firstly, we need the amendment of IT Act. Like, the law has been enforced, but we have to ensure its maximum implementation throughout the country. Then mandate AI disclosure and verification. Like through AI, we should use that to whom the number is registered, who are using it, what are the pros, what are the cons. So in this way, AI can be used. Then to institutionalize a national AI fraud authority. Although we are having I4C, that is Indian Crime Authority, but it is not well functioning now. But as the cases are increasing on an alarming number, so it should be institutionalized on a national level. Then we have to forge international resilience pacts. Like we have to collaborate with US and other, like we should also follow the EU AI pacts, so that there should be the proper implementation of these AI acts. So thank you.
Okay, thank you, participant. I don't have any question for you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for your presentation. And now moving on to the next presenter. Sorry. Mayank Chandra.
Uh, Good evening, everyone. My name is Mank, and I am here for presenting my paper. That the title of the paper is Fragmented Regulation of Artificial Intelligence: A Comparative Analysis of Emerging Global AI Governance Frameworks. Like while introduction, we live in a world where artificial intelligence is no longer a promise. It's already deciding various aspects of our life, whether it is personal, professional, or for governance. That is the reality of what we are dealing today. The scale of investment tell us how serious this is. $500 billion by 2027. But here is the paradox: the money is moving faster than the rules. What we have today is not a global AI governance framework, it is a collection of mismatched responses. The EU with binding laws, the OECD OECD with voluntary principle, the UNESCO with the ethical guidelines, and the India is still navigating without any legislation at all. This fragmentation is not just inconvenient, it is dangerous. Companies can pick and choose where to operate based on where accountability is weakest, and where harm crosses borders, victims often have nowhere to run. Most most critically, the countries and communities most affected by AI are the least represented in writing its rules. This is the core problem of my paper. Now moving on, the first EU AI Act. The EU AI Act is the gold standard in the sphere of the AI laws. The world's first legally binding AI law. It classifies AI by risk, bans the most dangerous application outright, and its reach extends beyond Europe through what scholar call the Bruce's effect. And basically, they have higher penalties, like the penalties for the violation is up to 30 million pounds or 6% global turnover, applies extraterritorially. Like then we are moving on to OECD principles that came earlier in 2019. And while voluntary, they genuinely shape domestic laws across democratic economics. But here is the fundamental tensions. The OECD represent wealthy nations, but the countries like India, China, and most of the developing world had no seat at that table. That's a really big issue. Now moving on, our next major policies like UNESCO recommendations. And UNESCO recommendation is unique. 193 countries agreed, which no other AI framework has achieved. It raises concern the West. It raises concern. The West often overlooks carbon footprints, cultural erasures, and AI colonialism. The risk that developing nations simply consume AI built by others, serving other interests. India is perhaps the most complex case in the term of framework regarding the AI. In India, it has no binding AI legislation, but it has ambition. The India AI Mission, a G20 presidency, used to champion inclusive governance and a strategic positioning and bridge the global north and south. Like Niti Aayog AI for All 2018 project is like a project, but not a regulatory framework. And the other DPDC Act 2023 protects data, but silent on algorithmic transparency and automated decisions. Now we're moving on to the accountability gap and compliance asymmetry. Fragmentation doesn't just create confusion, it's create opportunity. For large tech companies, mismatched regulation are a strategic tool. Build the AI where rules are loose, store the data where privacy is weak, deploy the product where consumers have least protection. This is the regulatory arbitrage, and it is already happening. The burden falls hardest on those least equipped to bear it. A startup in Bangalore wanted to European market access must meet the same compliances standards as Google. This is not a level playing field. This is a structural barrier that locks in the dominance of the few and dependency of many. Next slide, the enforcement deficit and exclusion of the global south. The governance
Participant
system
come to
without.
the conclusion.
Yes, sir. While concluding my paper, this paper sets out to answer one question: why does no coherent global AI governance system exist? The answer is the fragmentation is not a bug; it is a feature of a system shaped by the geopolitical self-interest and institutional inertia. Each framework has merit in isolation. Together, they fail, and while they fail, real people face AI-driven decision about their welfare, their freedom, their dignity, with no binding global standard to protect. AI is not waiting for governance to catch up. Every year of inaction compounds the harm. Convergence will not happen on its own. It must be deliberately, urgently, and inclusively built. And my suggestion for the suggestion after the paper is that the analysis point to clear direction at the global level. We need UN framework conventions, like we have WIPO for IP Act, and for Singapore Convention and New York Convention for Mediation Acts. And in case of India, India is uniquely positioned between global north and south, must back its diplomatic ambitions with actual legislation. And the path is difficult, but analysis show it is not possible. What it is missing is not a blueprint. What is missing is a political will. Thank you. That's all from my side.
Okay, participant, I have one suggestion for you. You should include, like, since you had already included 2019's guideline of OECD, I will also tell you to look into Hiroshima 2.0 projects. Already various reports of Hiroshima 2.0 project is provided. That project is also one of the partner project of OECD, and like it is going to be the first global artificial intelligence framework and protocol. So like try to incorporate in it and see what are the lacunas in our South Asian country aspects we can looked into as per the global framework is concerned. All right, thank you.
Yes, sir. Surely, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you for your presentation. And now moving on to the next presenter, Sunniva Das.
Yeah, we're here.
Yeah, you can continue with your presentation.
Yeah. Hello, panelists. I'll be presenting with my co-author, Srishti Bajaj. So our paper is essentially about how pornographic deepfakes perpetuate gendered harm. 98% of pornographic deepfakes target women. 96% of deepfakes are pornographic in nature, and 60% of the complaints pertaining to cybercrime in India, there has been a spike of 60% from 2024 to 2026, which I believe is an alarming statistic in itself. What our paper tries to argue is whether India's existing legal framework is adequate to address the gender-based violence which is perpetuated through non-consensual intimate deepfakes generated by AI with the proliferation in this age. Moving on, before we get into the gendered harm aspect of pornographic deepfakes, I believe it is essential to understand how deepfakes work, especially considering the fact that our recommendations focus on the process of generation itself. So it is trained on massive data sets which learn to recognize patterns and reproduce them. Now, there are multiple models that they might be trained of: diffusion models, generative adversarial networks, variational encoders. As of now, diffusion models and zero-shot learning models, which specifically distinguish generative AI from the previous technology which existed, such as morphing technology. So the prompt is inserted into the AI model, and there are mechanisms which is known as CLIP, one of the mechanisms, which then converts those prompts into mathematical representations, which are then converted into hyper-realistic images. Now, these hyper-realistic images are essentially categorized in two ways. It could be replacement and it could be reenactment. Our paper essentially focuses on the replacement part of the harm. Moving on, as I had previously mentioned, what makes generative AI different is foremostly the accessibility, the increased accessibility, that is, with the existence of open access software. Open access software can be deployed anywhere and could be accessed through any point of the world without having any software technology, without having any technological expertise, due to which there has been a massive proliferation of pornographic deepfakes in this age. Here, I have tried to explain how a prompt essentially translates into grounded reality and lived harm. It's not difficult to create pornographic deepfakes anymore. It's just a matter of linguistic and technological accessibility. The Indian law addresses harm at the point where the red line stops, which is after the image has been generated. And I believe this is a major shortcoming of the Indian legal framework. Now, I would like to hand it over to my co author. Good evening. So, now coming to the gendered aspect of the harm, we believe that the problem here is that deepfake generation and the harm caused by it is not gender. It's not gender neutral. It specifically targets women, and this is just the digitization of the harm and the crimes that women face on a daily in the real world as well. So it reduces women to sexualized objects. It impacts women in a way that they cannot digitally express themselves, that they cannot be on digital platforms without fearing such problems, which is why we think that it is essential for the legislature and for India as a country to work on this
Participant, you
at an
can move
alarming
to the
rate because it is an
solutions.
alarming problem. I'm so sorry.
You can move to the solution.
Noted. So here I have presented what the existing law is and why it does not work. So it creates three gaps, right? It creates the developers gap, which is that we are not placing any liability on the entities that actually uh, built the tools. Secondly, there's a generation gap, which is that we are only addressing the problem after the harm is done. And thirdly, there's the political economy gap, which addresses how there's a lack of political will in this scenario to help the aggrieved. Uh, uh, there are international comparatives, but I believe we should move to the solution since that would be more appropriate. So, the framework that we bring into the picture, the framework that we are proposing, is basically prompt level filtering. We want to address the problem where it originates. Wish to we wish for the entities that create these tools to filter out prompts the moment they are generated so that there can be no image generation, there can be no synthetic data that can be generated. Because once, in today's generation, especially, once things are out on the internet, it is very difficult for mechanisms to control such data, which is why prompt level filtering we believe is an appropriate solution. Secondly, there's model level fine tuning, which means we hold the developers liable for their tools, and along with that we believe that the liability should also be placed, the liability to prove consent also should be shifted on the defendants and not the victims. Lastly, I would like to conclude by saying that we need to we need to address this issue like it is. We need to address this issue in at an alarming rate because it is alarming to let this be the way it is. Deepfakes are an ever it is deepfakes are in the current world. It is extremely easy. It is like my co-author previously suggested. It is something that needs to be addressed. Imp- it's something that needs to be addressed right now, which is why we think it is legislative lethargy and nothing else that is causing for the problem to exacerbate at the current rate. Thank you.
Okay. So participant, I have two suggestions for you for your paper. So like in the previous in the previous various presentations, the participants has also presented similar kind of paper in the deep fakes. So like my suggestion specifically is two mechanisms are required when you looked into the deep fake. First is preventive and second is panel. Now, when we looked into the preventive mechanism, that there you see that already European Unions or other such kind of countries, Western countries, has implemented the watermarking system, where where the videos are watermarked, like not in a general watermark sense, like encoded watermark, right? Like a clip has been encoded when it is being traced. So yeah, easily it can be figured out whether the clip has been generated by an AI or it's a real video clip. So figuring out is possible due to the encryption watermarking system. So that's a preventive mechanism. How it prevents people? It prevents the people that, like, even if they generate the defect, the people will not be relying upon it as a real. So it prevents. It's a sort of preventive mechanism. And the another type of mechanism right now, which we are discussing elaborately, even in the India AI Impact Summit, I had my co-chairs and I as the panelist, as the speaker, we deliberated upon this, that a mechanism is required where the penalty or the penal provisions should be developed in such a way that the websites or any softwares, because the people generally what they will do, they will be using a software or a website, they cannot generate a deepfake without using without taking help of all those. So any intermediary, that is the website, who are supplying or who are serving up with those services, have to come up with a mandatory KYC profiling of the customers or the users who are using those. That is the first mechanism can be done. Second thing, whenever they would be generating a deepfake videos or a deepfake content, automatically their data or their IP should be traced. That this video is linked with this IP traced generated like a generative device. So that's how we can know the source. So while determining the penalty, the first thing we have to determine the source. Who is the culprit? So that's how like the system will work. So these are the two mechanisms I'll want you to research upon, and how effective or how the system should work upon, or how legislative policy reform should come. So that's how like I want you guys to look into.
Yes, sir. We completely appreciate and understand your suggestions. However, we believe the contrary regarding the effectiveness of the watermarking part. While it may come off as a preventive measure, we would also like to point out that the harm has already been done, since the pictures are out in the open, and it can cause significant psychological stress, reputational harm to the person whose pictures have been created. So, that is not essentially an ex ante measure that is sufficient to address. In addition to that, I believe watermarks are something that can easily be manipulated or removed in any scenario, which is why this mechanism doesn't work,
It's
as it has
like
proven to not
for
work.
for you, like both of your clarification, these are not a generic visible watermark. These are the encrypted watermarks within the video. There is something called metadata of the like any media file. So it's within the metadata. It cannot be deleted, it cannot be erased. So that's the different system. But since you are having a concern, so I will definitely like ask you to work upon your paper, and all those concerns should reflective in your papers. So that if you include this system, what are its consequences and what are its effect. So that's all. Thank you. Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you
Thank you
so
so
much.
much.
Thank you for your presentation. And now we are moving on to the next presenter, Nikita Sharma.
Is my PPT visible?
Participant, you are not visible.
So there is a technical problem with the camera.
Okay, go ahead.
Yes. How to move the slides? Just a minute. Good evening, respected chair and distinguished participants. My paper titled Accountability and Transparency in AI System, a Human Right Perspective. AI today is not just a technological tool, it is a decision-making authority. It determines who receives welfare, who gets loan, and even who gets hired. But the central question is, can we trust a decision that we cannot understand, question, or challenge? My paper just argues this problem of AI not merely technical, it is fundamentally a human right issue. AI system operates largely as black boxes. They produce outcomes without revealing how those outcomes were reached. As a result, individuals affected by these decisions are often left without explanation or remedy. Now, what I call is accountability deficit. When decisions affecting rights, which such as equality, privacy, and due process are delegated to opaque system, the very foundation of constitutional and human right protection is weakened. The central question what I address is to what extent do existing legal framework ensure accountability and transparency in AI system? To answer this, I have adopted a doctrinal legal methodology analyzing international instruments such as ICCPR, UN Guiding Principle, and UNESCO AI Ethics alongside European Union AI Act and the Indian legal framework. International human rights law provides a strong normative foundation. The ICCPR guarantees the right to remedy, fair hearing, and privacy, the rights that are directly affected by algorithmic decision making. The UN guiding principle on business and human rights require cooperation to conduct human right due diligence, which extends to AI system. Further, UNESCO AI ethic recommendation introduces critical principles such as explainability, transparency, and human oversight. While these frameworks establish obligations, their enforcement in AI contexts remain weak. Globally, the European Union AI Act represents the most advanced regulatory model. It introduces a risk-based approach and mandates transparency, human oversight, and lifecycle accountability for high-risk AI systems. In contrast, Indian legal framework is still evolving. The Puttaswamy judgment provides strong constitutional foundation by recognizing privacy as a fundamental right and introducing proportionality test. However, the DPTP Act does not address automated decision making or algorithmic accountability in a comprehensive manner. This creates a gap between constitutional principle and practical enforcement. My paper identified three major gaps. First, the audit deficit. There is no mandatory mechanism to independently evaluate AI system for bias or fairness. Second, the redress deficit. Individuals lack accessible and effective remedies against harmful AI decisions. Third, supply chain accountability. AI system involves multiple actors, making it difficult to assign responsibility when rights are violated. Together, these gaps create a system where power is exercised without accountability. My proposed solution is that human right by design life cycle governance model. This model embeds accountability at every stage of AI. Before deployment, the system must undergo human right impact system. During the deployment, they must ensure transparency and human oversight. And after deployment, they must subject to continuous audits and effective redress mechanism. This shift accountability from reactive approach to a proactive systematic framework. To conclude, accountability and transparency in AI are not optional, they are legal and constitutional obligation. If left unregulated, AI becomes a tool of unchecked power. But if governed properly, it can enhance efficiency while respecting human dignity. The challenge before us is not whether to regulate AI, but how to ensure that innovation remain aligned with human rights. Thank you.
Okay. We don't have any question for you, participant. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for the presentation. And the next presenter would be Gosala Sri NM.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. So, I'm going to present on the topic the algorithmic transformation of the global knowledge economy. Coming to the introduction, the global economy is currently undergoing a major transformation due to artificial intelligence. AI is no longer just a supporting tool, it has become the foundation of the modern innovations ecosystem. Today, technologies like generative AI can produce text, images, music, and even technical solution at a scale that was never possible before. This rapid development is creating both opportunities as well as the serious legal challenges. One of the most affected area is the intellectual property law. Traditionally, intellectual property law is based on the idea that only humans can create and own the original works. Copyright protects the human authors and patent law recognizes the human inventors. However, AI can now generate content independently, which raises an important question: if a machine creates something, then who owns it? So there are multiple possibilities. The ownership could belong to the user who gave the instructions and the developer who built the AI system, or in some cases, no one at all. This creates uncertainty and challenges the core principles of the intellectual property law, which has always required a human involvement. Different countries are addressing these issues in a different ways. In the United States, the Euro and the In the United States and in European Union, the approach is stricter. Only the human can be recognized as an author, even if a person gives prompts to an AI system. That alone is not sufficient to claim an authorship. On the other hand, China has adopted a more flexible approach. Courts in China have recognized AI-generated works if the user shows creative effort, such as carefully designing prompts or editing the output. And another important development is the rise of the licensing economy. AI systems require large amount of data for training, and much of this data is taken from the internet. This has led to the legal disputes as content creators argue that their work is being used without permission. To solve this, companies are now entering into licensing agreements with the content owners. In some countries like India, there is even a discussion about the centralized licensing systems to manage the data usage and ensure fair compensation to the authors. In the field of patents, there has been a huge increase in the AI related inventions. However, a patent law can still require that invention show a clear technical improvement. In India, for example, the 2025 guidelines state that the AI invention must demonstrate a technical advancement such as improving system performance or efficiency. Simply producing better results is not enough. Another challenge is that that AI cannot legally be recognized as an inventor. Even if the AI plays a major role in creating an invention, a human must still be named as an inventor. This creates a gap between the technological reality and legal rules. From the business perspective, AI is also transforming how startups operate. Companies must choose between the proprietary models, which are powerful but expensive, and open source model, which are more flexible and cost effective. At the same time, artificial intelligence is changing revenue models. Many companies are moving from subscription based pricing to usage based pricing, where the customers pay only for what they use. I would like to conclude my presentation by saying that the artificial intelligence is fundamentally reshaping the global knowledge economy. While it offers significant opportunities for innovation and growth, and it also creates complex legal challenges. The future will depend on finding a balance between protecting the human creativity and allowing the artificial intelligence to continue evolving. A harmonized global approach to intellectual property law will be essential to achieve this balance. Thank you.
Thank you, participant. I don't have any question for you.
Thank you.
Moving on to the next presenter, Gianna Bajaj.
Hi, am I audible and visible?
Yes.
Yes, you are. You can start.
Thank you. Thank you. Good evening. My name is Gianna, and my paper is titled How AI that has been coded using Western data sets produces weird outcomes when viewed in the context of the global South. In doing so, I argue that it reproduces structural inequalities that are already prevalent, and it could potentially even affect constitutional ideals that we as a society must today strive to protect. So, to get started, what exactly are weird outcomes, or what do I mean when I say that I'm applying a weird framework to how data is viewed within the global South? Scholarship has argued so far that AI chatbots and AI systems, largely that originate from the West, have these following characteristics. These include being Western, educated, industrialized, rich, and democratic. Scholarship is also increasingly arguing that when these AI tools are superimposed into different contexts, the outcomes could be disastrous. And that is something that I agree with and I seek to argue in my paper. So, moving forward, what do we see AI being used as today within the legal fraternity and for judicial decision making? We see it be used largely for three specific purposes. One is legal research. Several courts are today commenting on how a lot of the pleadings that they are receiving, a lot of the petitions they are receiving, are seemingly drafted using AI chatbots such as ChatGPT and other AI systems. It's also being used for predictive analytics. This is happening more in the West, where countries like the United States are using tools like Compass to see whether or not an offender will commit further offenses, whether or not what is the likelihood of reoffense in serial offenders. And they do this by studying things like juvenile delinquency and behavioral characteristics, etc. But a lot of the data that they're using marginalizes people who have already been marginalized by society and affects people against whom this data is, which often includes minority communities. For example, within the United States, they saw a case against Compass where it was held that this predictive tool was predicting that people of color have a higher likelihood of committing offenses regularly in comparison to the average white male. And therefore, we must be really careful in using these AI tools and systems for decision making. Another way we're using it is for administrative rulings. And what we see across these three ways is that there's a huge global development gap that exists, which is why we must proceed with caution. What are we seeing also within the Indian subcontinent right now is that this has stopped being theory and has moved a stage forward and is actually impacting outcomes. Now, while there isn't a case before the court yet about how discrimination exists, we are seeing that courts have relied upon phantom cases that don't exist yet as a basis for making their decisions. There are three examples of this. The first being the Apex Court case, which was decided on 27th February, wherein the Apex Court noted that phantom cases had been relied upon by the Andhra Pradesh High Court, and therefore we must proceed with caution before using AI in judicial decision making. There were two other instances of this. One was a Bombay High Court case where 50,000 rupees was kept as a fine for relying on phantom cases and wasting the court's time. Another case occurred in the Delhi High Court, which is the Greenapolis Welfare Association case, where it was also discovered that paragraphs that didn't exist were relied upon from a judgment. And therefore, if these AI systems are continuously being proved by studies to contain bias, and we're relying on the phantom cases that are being used by these AI systems, we are reproducing that bias and relying on that bias to generate and impact actual outcomes within the judicial system, which is something that needs to be curbed before it becomes an even bigger problem within the country. Moving on forward to what this problem really looks like. It looks like AI hallucinations, phantom cases, and what we see increasingly is the black
Participant,
mirror
can you
problem.
move to the conclusion?
Sure. So this violates both Articles 14 and 21, and therefore I believe it's very important that we find a solution to this. It also is not addressed in the AI Ethics and Accountability Bill that was introduced within the Parliament. There are several gaps that need to be cured, which is what I've addressed in my paper. And this has also been noted by several courts, including the United States Court, a court in Australia, as well as a court in Canada, where it's been proved that AI systems contain certain amount of discrimination based on the coding of their data sets. So what I believe the solution to all of this is that we need localized data sets. The government has rolled out a few websites such as the AI Kosh platform. And so we need more platforms like this that make accessible localized data sets. We need to make AI systems that understand the specific context of the global south and only then use it in judicial decision making. Until then, I feel human oversight is very important, and we should try to make our AI regulations, such as the AI Ethics and Accountability Bill, account for these realities that are unique to our position. Lastly, I believe an independent oversight body must not be entirely centralized, which was a proposition by the AI Ethics and Accountability Bill. And I believe we should use it as an assistive and not a decisive tool until all the problems are fixed. With that, I'd like to conclude my presentation. I'm very happy to take any questions.
Okay. So see, like one of the primary objective of artificial intelligence is to come up with the efficiency of the working. That the working must be efficient. That's the primary objective. But here, like as you well mentioned, that the number of court cases where the lawyers are being citing the cases which doesn't exist. So the primary reasons for this are the credibility and who will take the responsibility of those authoritative cases. So that is only the concern. Now the AI is completely subjected to liability. Whatever we do on the AI, if we doesn't take the responsibility or liability of it, who will take? Or like if you are using, if you will not take, who will take? That's the primary concern or the question, one and all, when we look in all the Supreme Court or the other high courts, every judges are coming up with all this particular thing only. Judges are not having any issue if you are coming up with the brief notes, or if you are coming up with the brief summary of the case, citing up things, but they are only having the issue if the authority is wrong. So my question to you, what would be the exact appropriate solutions looking into the foreign jurisdictions for this kind of concerns right now? Because we cannot stop using artificial intelligence. We cannot stop it. Then how like the users should be moderated, or how the users should be controlled?
Definitely. So I'd like to answer that using two things. One, I believe that it's important that our AI itself adapts to our local context, for which I argue that it's important to have localized data sets so that it's more accurate to begin with. But I think in terms of liability, there are two forms of liability that have been proposed within India so far. One is that lawyers themselves must be held accountable, which is when courts end up, like the Bombay High Court, for example, imposed a 50,000 rupees cost for wasting the court's time by putting in a phantom case. And so the lawyers must have to pay for not scrutinizing carefully their petitions. Of course, it needs to be integrated, but it needs to be integrated with so much caution, because the outputs that it's currently producing contain certain amounts of bias in them. And if they're relied upon entirely, people who have already been marginalized historically will continue to be marginalized by these outputs as well. So I believe first the lawyer should be held accountable, and second, the judge that utilizes his decision for his decision making process should also be held accountable, which is also incorporated within the Kerala High Court's recent AI policy, where they hold that every judicial officer must ensure that AI has not been found within, or they must not rely upon these sort of phantom cases and must check themselves thoroughly. And the entire liability, as per the Kerala High Court AI rules, is on the judge. So I believe a balance between the lawyer and the judge is the best approach we should currently take to make sure that these biases are not carrying forward, and that each person is being held accountable for the possibilities of AI creeping into the profession so as to affect other people.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for your presentation. And now moving on to the next presenter, Ankita Sharma.
Participant, you are not audible. Tell and unmute yourself. Unmute yourself, participant.
Sir, my slide is visible?
Yes, your slides is visible. You can start.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Myself, Ankita, and my paper is Artificial Intelligence in Education, Enhancing Teaching, Learning, and Assessment in Digital Classroom. So, my studies is focusing on only India and the NEP policy. Uh, So, if we are looking in ancient times and now classrooms were mainly teacher centered. So, the teacher explained lessons and all students learn the same content in the same way. This approach does not work well for everyone because every student learns differently. So, some understand quickly, and while others are taking more time for understanding, and they want different kind of explanation. So, this is what we call a one size fits all method. So today education is shifting because of digital tools and artificial intelligence. And AI allows learning to become more personalized and interactive. So for example, if we are looking, AI can give student real time feedback and suggest easier or harder question based on their performance. So and even act like a virtual assistant to help and solve the doubts anytime. So and if we are taking a single example like Duolingo, so if you make a mistake in English grammar, the app immediately is correct you and it gives you similar questions and help you your content. So this is AI adapting to your learning place. So if we are looking AI used in education and AI tools in education. So before pandemic, not that much used, but after pandemic, also pushed schools to use be shifted like traditional classrooms to online classrooms, online test, everything. So like that, digital tools is enhancing performance of the student, and which is making teachers and student compatible with technology. So because of this, AI adoption education increased even faster. So overall, AI is helping classrooms move from traditional teacher centered learning to modern student centered learning, and where everyone gets a more personalized experience. And what is the objective of my research? So assess current AI integration in classroom, analyze teachers readiness and perceptions and challenges, and understand students engagement and experience, identify various infrastructure and training digital access, and evaluate AI role in personalization and classroom. And what is the my research question is, how does AI enhance teaching, learning, assessment, and which AI tools improve teacher effectiveness most, and uh, how do AI learning analytics
Participant,
impact.
move ahead with the challenges and then the solution.
Okay, sir. And these are the evolution how AI comes in education system, and what are the possibilities in education. The AI transfer three major areas like learning, teaching, and administration. And AI in Indian education. So, world largest youth is India is the world largest youth population. So, and when pandemic system is came, so we do, automatically we face challenge. Ki how classes have to regulate, because education is the uh, main part. If education is stopped, then like one third of the population will face more problem. So during COVID pandemic, NEP is came, and this policy gives digital transformation priority, and initiatives like SWAYAM and any NEAT app and any TF app. And what are the challenges? So unequal access, lack of trained educators, ethical privacy concerns, and need standard AI curriculum, teacher capacity building, because AI is key. So, but in teacher training system, their teachers don't know how to use that AI, and what are the content is there. How teachers find out if that what are the content is AI is given that is correct content, because our teachers is not that much knowledgeable. So when recruiting and when the teacher appointment is happens, so that time that authorities have to involve their system in their teacher, so teacher can understand their tools how it is work, then they can guide to students. And what are the challenges related to AI in education? So digital divides and infrastructure users, so uneven access to devices, internet, and classroom technology. Rural and low-income learners remain disadvantages. So, like sir, in rural areas, people and students have not that much like internet access. Sir, first is the internet access problem, and second is sir, not every family can afford laptop and high quality, high standard phone. So these are the also problems, sir. And lack of skilled teachers, sir, like insufficient training in AI tools, how AI tools they have to use, and teachers struggle to integrate AI meaningfully, and ethical and privacy concerns like sir, student data security risk. Like, sir, if AI is using by more of the students, so there is no specific regulation how to control AI in India. And bias, inequality, and over dependence. So student not going to interact with the teacher, so this is also sir, decreasing teachers performance and teacher recruitment, because student if depend upon the AI tools, and they will learn from there. So a little bit recruitment also sir decrease, and limited sir standardization, so no uniform AI curriculum. So like I told in education, like that. So, and why are benefits of the AI in education? So personal learning. So AI is just content difficulty level and ways to match each
Participant, come to the
student's needs.
conclusion.
And what are the suggestions to strengthen the teacher AI training, like I told sir? And what are the recommendations to enhance AI specific teacher training and adopt AI platform for real-time feedback and strengthen AI ethical guidelines and improve equal access to AI tools and good inclusive digital learning apps? And what is the conclusion? AI can revolutionize Indian and global classrooms and students positive, but courteous and success depends upon the teacher training and readiness, and strong infrastructure, ethical, equitable access, and AI, human educators. So future of smart, inclusive learning. So if AI and human educator, they both work together, so students' future may be bright, and student may be more smart than comparison to traditional classroom. So in that way, sir, AI tools enhancing the education in classrooms and digital education. This is the my first conclusion.
Okay, thank you, participant. I don't have any question for you. Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for your presentation. And now we are moving with the vote of thanks. Um, As we come to the end of this session, I would like to sincerely thank our panel judge, Mr. D.S. Mandal, for his valuable insights, all the presenters for their thoughtful contributions, the organizers and collaborators for this platform, and each one of you for your presence and engagement. With that, we conclude this session and thank you and all the best.